opportunities to lead young men like this. This ain't about me. This is about us. We're going to celebrate what we do because it's so special.
What does this team need to do to get one more?
Let's celebrate this one. Let's get healthy. We got some guys that got to get healthy. I promise you, we're going to be ready for this last one.
Right, well, congratulations, Coach. And also to celebrate your journey of this season, we have a game ball for you.
All right, boys. Welcome everyone to another edition of the Irish Breakdown podcast. I'm Vince. That's Brian. That's Trevor. Gentlemen, I got one thing to say. We're going to Atlanta, baby. Woo! I am so fired up right now. I can't even tell you where my mind is, where everything is, because this, I texted you guys that my heart rate got to 178, towards the end of the game. Could not handle myself during that game. I was watching it at someplace else, we'll call it off campus, and it was just an unbelievable game. Highest of highs, lowest of lows. Trevor, I mean, what are you feeling right now, man? I was preparing for what I was going to say after a loss, to be perfectly honest with you. I had it all kind of prepared in my head, and I flushed it, baby. Don't need to worry about it.
Look, man, I died and came back to life about 6 different times.
Yeah.
That game. That's the best way that I can put it, man. I mean, look, favorite team aside, right? Because obviously we all love Notre Dame here on this podcast, right? But
I don't know about
it's one of those where just from a football game standpoint, this was a crazy game to watch. You know what I mean? If I wasn't a Notre Dame fan, I wasn't a Penn State fan, and I was just watching this because it was the semifinals of the college football playoff, I would have walked away from this and saying, yo, what a game. I mean, it was just punch after counter punch after counter punch. And it's just what you expect to see out of two teams playing for a bit in the national championship game, right? You know, I was telling this to Brian before the show started, and you guys all know the first game that I watched from start to finish as a Notre Dame fan was the Notre Dame USC 2005 game, the Bush Push game, right? And I was walking away from it wondering, and I've thought this all the time, what would it have looked like if Notre Dame won that type of game, where it was just two really good teams going back and forth and going at it. And, there was response after response, and there was the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And tonight I got to experience that a little bit. You know what I mean? And look, I know we're going to dive into everything here, but it's awesome. I went my entire Notre Dame fandom without ever seeing a New Year's Six bowl win. And in the same year, I've now seen two in two completely different ways, right? The first one, Notre Dame wins by 13 points and they beat the SEC champs, and it was a lot of fun, right? And I'd never seen that before in my lifetime. And this is the first Notre Dame win that I've seen in this style on this stage at this magnitude.
Yeah.
Man, it's exhausting. I'm happy that I'm this tired. And now that Notre Dame won, I am beyond happy.
Dude, there is no tired today. There's no
goodness.
tired. I say that now. Talk to me again at 3 a.m. or whatever when we're still rolling. But right now, I'm feeling real good about my my mental status and my physical status going into this game or into this show. Brian, you were there. You're in Miami. You got to just be a part of all of this, and you made me put my phone under my leg so I wouldn't see exclamation points coming my way. And give us your thoughts, man, on just the whole thing, just the overall everything. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good. I'm going to be here for just a few minutes, and then I got to hit the road and get back to the hotel, and then I'm going to jump back on when I get back to the hotel. But
there we go.
I think they needed to win like this. Trev, I don't know if you talked about this before I got back on because, of course, as soon as you hit record, my computer froze. But, at halftime, Trevor texts us. We're in a group text the whole game, and he's like, this is Northern Illinois all over again in regard to circumstance. First time you've trailed at halftime since that game. Flip the script. What are we going to see from this team? I mean, Notre Dame was not only outplayed in the first half, they were whipped in the first half. I mean, they got dominated in the trenches the first 28 minutes.
Oh, it was ugly. Ugly.
And it's almost fitting the way that they won this game. Riley gets knocked out. Steve Angeli's the next guy that has to come back in, make some big throws. I mean, and they weren't like, money throws, but he did what he needed to do.
But he did what he needed to do to move him down the field.
The fumbles on the left tackle, it's just like the Gunnar Stockton fumble last week. You can't see that as a quarterback. I mean, that just came way too fast. He bounces back, gets the ball where it needs to get to, doesn't enforce like told him. They get a field goal, and you're just like, I texted you guys like, dude, they are so lucky to only be down 10-3. Yeah, Nicholas Singleton drops that ball on their field goal. James Franklin decides to kick a 20-yard field goal instead of putting the ball in the end zone. And to come out the second half in a game where they looked tired in the first half, they were getting whipped in the trenches in the first half. They were sloppy. They were making uncharacteristic mistakes. They were taking bad angles at the quarterback. They were missing tackles. Like everything that could go wrong, basically going wrong, including, you had a turnover in the first half. And so you're sitting there thinking like, boy, it's been a great run, but they just looked like they ran out of gas. And they come out that second half. Denbrock made some phenomenal halftime adjustments. And Jagasol was a factor on that first drive of the second half. And from that moment on, you felt like, okay, they got a shot. And, before the game, Trev, we said you got to run the ball to beat Penn State. They didn't run the football. You can't turn the ball over and have bad turnovers, and you can't win this football game. They did that, and they still won the football game. And it was almost fitting how they won it, with Riley making plays at the end, Jaden Greathouse stepping up, and Mitch Jeter, the guy that everybody said you can't win a championship with the field goal kicking that Notre Dame has, which, based on what they did in the regular season, was true. But he just drills it, and it's just true. And it just was everything this team needed to do to win this football game. They did. It was ugly. It was sloppy. They didn't play very well. Penn State played good football. I mean, you got to give Penn State credit. After Notre Dame went up 17-10, I'm like, they may roll this thing. And Andy Kotelnicki had some great play calls on that next series, and they go right down the field and tie it up. And just to see this team battle back and forth, and then Christian Gray, who's been getting a lot of criticism, he comes up with that late pick. Like all the guys that people thought this is a problem for your football team coming into this game were guys that stepped up and made huge plays to win this football game. And it was like almost like this was kind of the perfect type of win for this football team. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, well, it was a win. They haven't won a game like this all year.
No,
they haven't
never trailed like this.
Never,
no, never had to come from behind like this, down 10-0. This is the biggest deficit they've had all season. Was 10 points.
Yep.
And to come back out and outscore them 27, what was it, 27-14 in the last 32 minutes of the game.
Yeah, because they got the field goal at the end.
Guys. That's who this team is. They everything we said they couldn't do if they wanted to win, they did and still won.
Yeah.
It just shows the heart of this team. It shows the talent of this team. You can't get the run game going in the first half. You're running the ball, running hard. I mean, that Jeremiah Love touchdown run was just the most fitting thing you're ever going to see. And Trev, how often have you been saying, get the ball to flipping Jaden Greathouse? And then they finally target Jaden Greathouse and he goes off. We said before the game, wouldn't it be great if the tight ends kind of answered what Tyler Warren did? That's exactly what they did. Mitch Evans had a big game. Eli Rarian had the big pass in their defensive, got the penalty on them. And they did it, and even with some really questionable no calls and calls from the officiating crew, they were still able to win this game, guys. It's just I mean, it's not my team, it's not my players, it's not.
Right.
I'm not part of the team, but in my role, I couldn't be more proud of what I saw tonight. They represented this university incredibly well, and did everything that they needed to do, and came out and won this football game. It's I don't know. If you're a head football coach, I don't know how you're more proud of this football team and the resiliency they showed. And look, Penn State played their butts off, guys. That team has nothing to hang their heads on. But Notre Dame's just better, and we saw that tonight. And they got it done at the end. It was huge.
Yeah. No doubt about it. It is. Just I'm almost at a loss for words just because of the way that game went down. It was just like we said, or like you said, this is a game that Notre Dame hasn't been in all season. And this is a game that Notre Dame loses in the past. That's the biggest thing to me is Notre Dame loses this game for the last 30 years. They do. They lose this type of game over the last 30 years. In this moment, this type of a game, coming back, losing 2 offensive linemen, you lose your quarterback, for the final drive of the first half. Hats off to Steve Angeli for what he was able to do. Absolutely. Look, Go ahead.
I'll say it, Vince. I'll say it.
Go ahead.
Everybody knows my opinion of Steve Angeli
Sure.
and whether he can. But here's the deal. The one thing we have said for 2 years, I don't know that he's a guy that can lead you to a championship and be that kind of guy. But what we have said is there will never be a moment that's too big for that kid.
That's fair. I mean,
he showed that his freshman year in the blue gold game.
Sure.
That kid was calm. He was relaxed.
Yeah.
The team played off that.
Mm-hmm.
There was confidence there that, hey, Steve's going to get it done. And whatever you think about who should or shouldn't be the starter, we can have that we'll have all offseason have that conversation. In this moment, that's what you need your backup quarterback to do. And you want to know why they went with him as the backup this year? It's that right there because he's just whatever you think about him as a talent, and I have very strong opinions on who the next quarterback should be.
Yep.
In that moment, that was the kid they needed because he was going to go in there and be like, all right, let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
And then after the fumble, I mean, did you see any flinching from Steve after the fumble? No, he just went right back out there and made another 2 throws. But again, I think also that drive was, sort of symbolic of the game. You're driving, maybe you get a touchdown and then you have the bad snap and Steve does a nice job of recovering it, takes a sack. And it's just like, man, this team is just so close to really getting back in this game. And there were a lot of missed opportunities in the first half, offensively and defensively, to be in this game. And but look, this is a game about adjustments. Notre Dame staff made great adjustments in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State staff kind of countered in the second half. Notre Dame staff countered back in the second half. Guys, this was 2 really good football teams and 2 really well-coached football teams. It's just one team has better players than the other team, top to bottom, and that team won. That team won. It was just a tremendous win. And honestly, guys, I want to give a lot of credit to Penn State because this is a team that we've talked about how they've choked big games. They battled their butts off. They didn't choke this game away.
No.
They got beat by a better team.
Agreed.
They played their butts off.
Yep.
Those kids played hard. They played their hearts out. It's just Notre Dame has better players, and Notre Dame's a better team. And it's not by a ton.
But at this point in the year, it's not going to be, right? I mean, can we at least say that? Like, we all thought Penn State was going to lose this game to Notre Dame. We all did, right? But Penn State's a good football team. It's a Final Four. Like, it's a Final Four of a 12-team playoff. So anybody that's left at this point is a good football team, okay? A good to great football team. Let's be honest, right? And they took Notre Dame to the wire, and they didn't necessarily do anything to lose this game. Notre Dame did some things to lose the game, I feel like. But at the end, Notre Dame took this game away and won it. At the end, that's what they did. And again, the thing that sticks out to me the most, I'm just not used to seeing that as a Notre Dame fan. I'm just not. And they did it. And I had faith that was going to happen with Marcus Freeman at the helm and being able to make adjustments with both coordinators. And they did, right? Second half was a complete difference from the first half, from an execution standpoint, from a game plan standpoint, just all of the above, right? And we'll get into the specifics of the offense and the defense in a minute, but just overall as a team, I'm sitting here at 44 years old, and I'm just not used to seeing Notre Dame win games like this. I'm just not. And they did. And my heart couldn't handle it. I mean, that's the biggest thing. My heart couldn't handle the entire thing, Trevor.
Obviously.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was just, like I said, I died and came back to life a good amount of times in this one. But I don't think you can draw it up any better. This win was, I think, symbolic of this season encompassed for Notre Dame, all the things that they had to battle. And then they had to battle it in real time. You know what I mean? You lose your left tackle. You lose your starting right guard. Bo Collins didn't play in the second half. Riley Leonard goes out with an injury. Howard Cross limped off the field a couple of times on a few plays. You know what I mean? So it's just all the adversity that you had to overcome throughout the season, you basically got to experience in about 60 minutes of gameplay with another really, really good football team on the other side of you, right? I mean, we talked about it. Penn State's running backs are dudes, and they were dudes today. Nicholas Singleton, hats off to you. Hats off to Abdul Carter, man. That guy was playing with half a shoulder, legitimately, and he battled. You can tell towards the end of the game, kid was in some pain, and he battled and he was out there with his team. But look, man, I'm with Brian, right? Like, I don't play for Notre Dame. I didn't go to Notre Dame. I didn't coach at Notre Dame, but I mean, everybody knows, especially in this chat, how much we all love Notre Dame and how much I was talking to Lauren before the game of, I wish I could just be sometimes one of those fans that like watches sports, but like it doesn't have like a physical toll on me. You know what I mean?
Good luck.
Like just to tune in, to be like, oh, let's see Notre Dame's playing. But like, it's moments like this where I wouldn't trade that feeling in the world. You know what I mean? To where it's like, this is why you care. From the positions that us three are in, we get to sit back and we dive into film and we dive into analysis and we break down the team. And that's how we spend the bulk of our day. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it means a little bit of something. And it's really awesome and it's exciting to see, man. I'm happy that they're here. We have a lot to break down tonight, a lot of good, still a lot of correctable things. But, I mean, let me say this loud and clear. If you would have told me that Notre Dame would have been outrushed, they lose the turnover margin, that I would have told you it was a tough battle. But the biggest difference maker in this, and I have been their biggest critic on third down. They went 11-17 tonight on third down in not so many favorable positions either. And they held Penn State to 3 of 11 on third down. And that right there, the ability to keep drives alive, rattling off 17 straight unanswered points, that's the difference maker in the football game, man. So again, a lot to dive into. I know we're kind of going through gut reactions right now, but man, I mean, my gut reaction is I'm kind of still processing what I just watched for the last 3.5 hours. So, it's all smiles over here in the Trowbridge household.
Brian, I want to give you kind of one final say before you get out of here, because we got to get you on the road so that you can get back into the show. So if you got anything else, I want to give you the podium, as they say.
There's going to be some noise in the background. They're airing the press conference because we're up in the press box, so I apologize for the noise. But I got to say, like, this is why we said two things. This is why we said that Penn State has the number 2 backfield in the country, because those kids were really good tonight. But this is also why we say Notre Dame is number 1, because you can shut down Love and Price, and then what happens, Aeneas Williams comes in the game, and he goes off. He has a huge run. He hits a sluggo for a big play. He catches 5 passes for 66 yards. When you can go 3 deep like that, and I mean, honestly, Keedron came in the game, he would be doing the same thing. This is what makes that group so good, and just to see the resilience of this team, where mistakes they had. See, because like Vince, this as a coach, man, sometimes when you do things that are uncharacteristic, it can get in your head and it can force more mistakes. But to see Riley make the mistake he made and then lead them right back to thing, guys, and I couldn't be more proud of this football team. And I know there's a lot we're going to talk about what this game means. We're kind of giving our emotional reaction to kind of what this game means. But the reality is this is a hard-fought win, and this team showed a lot of guts, a lot of heart, and they just showed that they were the better team. But it wasn't easy, and I almost think it really to go out and beat this kind of wins where they're just not always in control. That's good for them. And now you get a little bit extra rest, 11 days of rest. So Sean's about to jump in, but I'll be back here in a little bit, guys.
Thanks, Brian, for stopping by. Appreciate you very, very much. We'd love to get the thoughts of Brian Driscoll on games like this, because you and I, Trevor, were picking his brain throughout the entire game, as well as he was picking ours. And I mean, just what a game, what an opportunity for Notre Dame. Just everything about that game. It almost leaves me at a loss for words, but I don't get paid not to talk. So this was just one of the most unbelievable Notre Dame games that I have witnessed in my lifetime. And they still got one more. Don't get me wrong. They still got one more. But for tonight, it's a 24-hour rule, fellas. Like, I'm going to celebrate this for some time here because I don't have to prepare for Ohio State or whoever. Freudian slip. Whoever wins the Ohio State-Texas game, I don't have to prepare for that. I can just revel in this victory. And of course, we are joined now by Sean Davis. Sean, my man, how's your heart doing, man? Because mine is struggling at the moment because it was beaten out of my chest there for a minute.
My heart's doing pretty good. It really is. I'm going to be honest. I'm really going to be honest. Even when they went down early in this game, and kudos, can I just say this? For everyone, and I've said this all year, this is not about pitting quarterbacks against each other. This is not about who's better. This team is good enough to play well with whomever they put back there, if that's who the guy has to be. It has nothing to do with whether or not Riley Leonard is the best quarterback. That cat Steve Angeli being ready meant something tonight. It settled the team down. And this is absolutely, let me tell you something, man. Everything you saw tonight, this is a team literally wringing out every bit of moisture from the towel that they have. Every bit, every drop of blood, every drop of sweat that they had, they literally left it on the field tonight, fellas. I couldn't be more proud of a team. I couldn't be more proud of a season. I couldn't be more proud of a coaching staff. I'm sure we'll get into it. Look, everyone was challenged tonight. I feel like the coordinators were challenged. Marcus Freeman was challenged to get his team back focused and get them ready. And he pushed the right buttons at halftime, and the adjustments were made. And Kolanecki and the Penn State coaching staff, they won their A game tonight. They had counters. They broke tendency to make sure that they could get the running game going, and they got the running game going. And everything that every national pundit said Notre Dame couldn't do, they did it. They couldn't come back from a double-digit lead. They did it. They couldn't win a game when they didn't win the turnover battle. They did it. They couldn't win a game when Riley Leonard didn't turn the ball over. They did it. Whatever, you keep putting the checklist up there. Keep telling them what they can't do. This team is going to find a way to do it. So go ahead. Set the line. I don't care who it is. Texas. I don't care if it's Ohio State. Set the line. Make them the favorite and tell this team and this staff that they can't do it in the national championship game and kick the darn ball off. Let's go. That's just how I feel. I felt confident, even they got down 10, Vince. I was like, yo, we're going to make this a game. And once we made it a one-possession game going into half, I was like, okay, here we go. And they come right out. They tie it up. And then once they tied it up and got to the fourth quarter, I really thought once we went up 17-10, I was like, okay, this is when the defense puts the chokehold on. This is when we put the chokehold on them. And you have to tip your cap to Penn State. They come right back. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that is college football at its best, a heavyweight fight. And they gave us a whale of a football game tonight. And it's so many. This is one of those games, Vince, where you have to go back, and Trevor, you have to go back and watch because you miss so many small things that meant something in this game. You're going to go back and watch this, and you're going to say, yo, I forgot about that play. Yo, I forgot about that small play right there. There are so many things that meant. And so that's when Marcus Freeman and his staff consistently tell his guys, focus on the 6 inches in front of you. Like, don't think about anything else. Only deal with what's right there in front of you, the next play, and move on. That is a team that just exemplified that on tonight. They really did. They really did. And, watching James Franklin have to watch that ball go through the uprights, that was so fulfilling, guys. Oh, it was so fulfilling. I was like, yes. I woke my wife up. I apologize. She has to get up early tomorrow, but I was screaming. And look, I'm happy, man. This is absolutely amazing. This is literally outside of 88, which can be topped if they get the job done in the championship game. Outside of 88, flat out, greatest moment in all of my Notre Dame fandom.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm sure it's the same way for a lot of people that are watching us.
No doubt.
Absolutely fantastic.
No doubt. No doubt biggest game I've ever been a part of as a fan, as an analyst, as a whatever title you want to give me. It's the biggest game, period. Right? I mean, I don't remember the 88 season. I was 7 years old. I don't remember it. Okay. Mm-hmm. My memory started in 93. And that went from elation to depression. You know what I mean? So like this is the biggest game. And I said it when we first started, Notre Dame doesn't win these kinds of games, Sean, in the last 30 years. They just don't, right? They don't win this type of game in this moment for the last 30 years. And it's refreshing because I agree with you, right? When they go into halftime, it's a one-possession game. Notre Dame's getting the football. Marcus Freeman's the head coach. Mike Denbrock's the OC. Al Golden's the DC. I got faith, right? Now, that doesn't mean my emotions weren't all over the place tonight, because they were, okay? But it wasn't like in the past where it's like, well, this game's over. I mean, because Notre Dame got punched in the mouth in the first half, Sean. They got absolutely punched in the mouth on both sides of the football, and they kind of went into the locker room limping a little bit, literally and figuratively, right? And they come out and they deliver a blow in the second half, and then they kind of received one, and then they delivered one. Like, I just haven't seen a resilient team like this in so long, but now it's starting to become the reality of a Marcus Freeman coached football team. And I just, it's so refreshing, Sean. I don't know how else to say it. It's so refreshing to have faith in your team because of who the head coach is, and because of his hires, and because of his recruiting, that this team is not going to just take a punch and just roll over and die.
They're a great example of life.
Right.
It doesn't have to be perfect, man, and it's not going to be perfect. So what are you going to do? No, nothing's ever going to be perfect. What are you going to do? You're not always going to be at your best. So what are you going to do with that? And this team and Marcus Freeman, you talked about the resiliency, you talk about the toughness, you talk about the togetherness, never getting down on one another, having Rallies back, whether it's the defense responding, having his back, and then the playmakers responding. Jaden Greathouse, we've been waiting for the breakout game for Jaden Greathouse. And tonight, there it is. When you needed it the most, there he is. And we knew it was there. So we'll get to the breakdown offensively, defensively, but just overall, man, Notre Dame fans, enjoy this. Yeah, I thought it would be really tough, because I thought from a team standpoint, even if they beat Penn State, I didn't think this win would top what beating Georgia meant for the program.
Yeah, that's fair.
It would be huge because they put you in the national championship game. But beating Georgia versus beating Penn State is a little bit different from a national landscape, right? But this game is – I might watch this game about 5 times tomorrow, fellas.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to watch it as soon as we're done. It's just, oh man, Notre Dame fans, Trev, I want to, Trev, because I have 88. Vince, like you said, you were 7. Trev, you're the young man in the crew. For you, this has to be.
Look, man,
did you run around the house?
Listen, look, apologies to my downstairs neighbors. It's a Thursday. Right. I know people got work in the morning, man. So, but it's funny, there's a lot of people, Vince, you're talking about, this wouldn't top anything potentially since 93. And Sean's talking about this wouldn't top anything since 88. To me, fellas, look, this wouldn't have topped anything outside of January 2nd of 2025. Right. Like that's where I'm at with my Notre Dame fandom. And so it's just been, gosh, man, it's crazy. Sean, I don't know if you would agree with this or not, but I was telling the guys before the show started, and I brought it up at the start of the show, is like, the first game that I watched start to finish was the 05 USC game, the Bush game. Ooh. And I walked away from that saying, what would it be like if Notre Dame won that game? Like, what would that feel like? And this was the closest thing to it, right? Punch, counter punch, one team answers, one team goes on a run, then Penn State answers, and then Notre Dame battles back, and there's crucial turnovers. And if I would have known what it felt like for Ambrose Wooden to break up that 4th and 9 to Dwayne Jarrett, sorry if I'm bringing up any bad memories for anybody, but that's what this feels like, right? Yeah. Like that, like I would have to imagine that that's what this feels like. And I was texting the guys before, at halftime, and I was talking about how this is the first time Notre Dame has been down at halftime since Northern Illinois. Can you change the narrative? Can you come out and do the things that you didn't do back on September 7th that's plagued you? I mean, my mentions on Twitter are already filled up with, don't forget Northern Illinois. Like, yeah, whatever, dude. Like, and keep talking to me from the couch, bud. But look, sorry, I'm fired up.
No, do it.
But look, man, I mean, this game it's everything that you want to see out of the team that you love and you follow so closely. It was gritty. It was at times ugly. At times it was net. Look, man, Jaden Greathouse went from getting 1 target a game to 7 targets, 7 receptions, and took 4 pairs of ankles with him on 1 play. Man, that game was so fun to watch. So fun to watch. And it's just that sometimes you just have teams that come along once a year in college football that just find different ways to win. You know, we were going through our keys to victory, and it's going to be fun to listen to upon further review tomorrow when the guys break down who, you know, did they hit the keys? No, they didn't win the turnover battle. No, they didn't limit big plays. No, they didn't make Tyler Warren inefficient. Dude had 7, actually I have it right here. Tyler Warren had 6 receptions on 7 targets for 75 yards. So they didn't make him inefficient. They lost the ground game. Nicholas Singleton had 3 rushing touchdowns, and they still won the football game. You know, and so it's just you look at wins like that, and I mean,
on paper, Notre Dame doesn't win this game. Let's be honest, right?
No,
Notre Dame doesn't win this game based on what you just said, right? Both their running backs had over 80 yards. I think they did a decent job on Warren, to be perfectly honest. I think they did a decent. I mean, Mitchell Evans had 1 less catch and like 10 less yards. I mean, he came to play today, which I was very happy about. We'll talk about that later, but yeah, they lose this game on paper.
Yeah.
100%. If you show me these offensive stats before the game, this is what Penn State's going to do. And -1 in the turnover battle, this is a loss. This is a Notre Dame loss, and it wasn't. And what and talking about like what this, and I mean to cut you off, Trevor. I know you probably have more to say, so by all means. But I what this means to this program and what this means for Notre Dame in the grand scheme of college football and Marcus Freeman and this team, and I mean all of it, right? This win is program changing. It is. And I agree with you, Sean. If you would have told me that the Penn State win would be bigger than the Georgia win, I'd be like, come on now.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. But the manner in which they won this game makes it bigger. It makes it bigger. Stage is bigger. You got punched in the mouth multiple times. Look, Georgia didn't punch Notre Dame in the mouth, really. They might have shoved them a little bit to the side, but they didn't punch them in the mouth like Penn State did. Because I never had any of the feelings that I had tonight back on January 2nd. I didn't, right? So it was a completely different style of game that Notre Dame was able to come out on top. This is a program-changing win. This postseason is program-changing, Sean. Like, we talk about the needle moving for Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman and the whole deal, right? Like, the needle is, like, buried right now. Now you still got 1 more game, but the needle is like way over here with where this program is right now, and they needed it. It's like a shot of adrenaline that this program needed, and now we needed it too as a fan base. You know what I mean? Like, we needed it, but inside the Goog, like inside the program, like they knew this whole time. They didn't tell us, but they knew this whole time. And you know, again, it starts at the top. It absolutely starts there. If we're going to blame Marcus Freeman for like NIU and all of that stuff, right, then you got to give him all the credit in the world for every game after that up until now. And this program is going to go places it hasn't gone in decades because of that man.
Vince, let me tell you something, because you're talking about leadership starting with Marcus Freeman.
Yep.
Let me give you one more example of leadership. They come out of halftime and Marcus Freeman says, we have to find a way to establish the run. It was only 11 carries for 45 yards. Let me tell that dude, Jeremiah Love, what he did for this team tonight, and that touchdown run, that right there, all heart. You know that kid was about 70%. You could tell. He didn't try to cut. It was
If
everything was
that.
straight ahead.
If that, man.
I think he had a run in the first half. I forget. You guys break it down on the film down. If that's normal Jeremiah Love, he's out the door.
Right.
He's gone.
Right.
He literally slips. He's out the door. And you could just tell for him not to be frustrated and to do what he knew, he ran so strong and powerful tonight and gave them everything that he had. But he was the one with his hard running early in that drive that tied the game up at 10. He set the tone, man. He set the tone. They have, for the first time, Vince, was we use this phrase in sports, they have dogs.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time, you look throughout this roster on both sides of the ball, and Notre Dame has dogs. Wait, are you kidding me? 56 hasn't taken a snap. Did he not look like an All-American, future All-American at right guard? Hello.
Listen.
Hello.
I know you watched them because I know you love line play, Sean. The play where Jagasaw pulled, right?
Oh.
And the guy came, through his gap. There was a missed assignment. It wasn't his,
right,
but there was a missed assignment there. Did you see what he did to that kid?
Just discarded him.
Depleted that kid who was trying to fill on the outside.
Let me show you.
Oh man.
It's one of his first plays. Let me tell you, this kid, either he's just nasty or he's smart. He comes around, he sees Abdul Carter engaged, falling to the ground, and he falls on his left shoulder.
Yes, he did.
And I'm like, either he's nasty and he did that on purpose, or he's really smart.
It's both. It's both.
I'm going to enjoy. Hey, no disrespect. I wouldn't mind seeing them start the national championship game. I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
To be honest.
Oh, me too. Look, we don't know anything. Just to put this out there, we don't know anything about the injuries, right? They showed Anthony Knapp in street clothes, obviously. So, we don't know what's going to happen with him. And then Rocco didn't come back in the game. So, they've got 10 days to figure this out, or however many days it is, to figure this thing out. But the replacements, and we'll get into the offense, but just overall, right? I mean, this team, game in and game out, next man up. And I know it's about as cliche as you can get when talking about sports, okay? Next man up, next man up. Dude, there needs to be a Hall of Fame for next man up in the Goog for Notre Dame for this season, because all of the guys that have stepped up this season who we didn't think were going to have anything to do with this season, anything to do with this season, have all stepped up in a major way. Look, Gabriel Rubio played a heck of a game today, right? Howard Cross played a game on one leg. I mean, he was hobbling off the field. I mean, you can go down the line. Tosh Baker, yeoman's work when he got called up and to go in the game. Charles Jagasaw, after being out for the entire season, he had a couple of extra point snaps, coming into this game for this season. He plays like a dog. Just like I said, Angeli comes in, plays like a dog. He did exactly what he needed to do in that moment. Just down the line. That's who this team is. I don't even know what else to say. You want to talk about using every scholarship, man. That's who this team is.
Tosh Baker.
Yeah.
It just speaks to, this is why Notre Dame is different. And especially in this NIL transfer portal landscape, where everyone else in the playoffs is having players jump into the portal.
Sure.
Feeling like we have to jump into the portal. And Marcus Freeman before the Indiana game saying, we don't have that problem. We don't have that issue. Maybe somebody jumps in after we're done or after our season ends, but everyone's locked in and pulling on the same rope. And you saw how meaningful that is in a game like this. Anthony Knapp goes down. Okay, here comes Tosh Baker. Because I was wondering, okay, are they going to put Jagasaw at tackle, or and they're like, no, he hasn't played there all year,
right? Because he's been practicing at right guard the whole time.
Absolutely,
yeah.
And so that group, that five that ended the game, man, just masterful, man. Masterful. The way they were able to protect better, run the ball better, and give Riley Leonard that offense chance after chance to make plays. And then you just had special guys, wide receiver group. We've been talking about the wide receiver group. Like somebody needs to step up outside of Jordan Faison. There you go. You get the offensive line stepping up right after. I don't even know what grade I would give them in the first half. I know it wouldn't be above a C because it just wasn't good. And then the defense, I mean, honestly, Riley Leonard gave Penn State 10 points.
Exactly. 100%.
He gave them 10 points.
Yeah.
I mean, the defense playing a subpar game once again. Notre Dame didn't play their best, and they beat Penn State's they're a top 4 team. Penn State's a good team, man.
Absolutely. They're a very
Penn
good
State
team.
is a really good football team. They're a really good football team. And I think kudos to Al Golden, who he took some punches tonight. He got hit in the face.
Yeah, he did.
You know, because Andy Kolnicki had some answers to that pressure. And Al Golden had to find some things. But ultimately, it comes down to the heart of the players on this team, finding a way, despite the injuries, despite everything that was going against them, finding a way to reestablish their dominance in the trenches. Like that's what they did, because it wasn't even close in the first half, and I believe they brought the trenches back to an even game. Yeah, that's what they brought it back to even.
I agree.
You know, it wasn't like they just dominated Penn State in the trenches, but they brought it back even. And once it got back to even, it was about the quarterbacks and everyone else that can make plays. And shout out, Christian Gray has dropped. He picked the best time to have his best interception of the year, because he has dropped at least 5.
Listen, were you like, wait a minute, they're reviewing this for way too long? Like it felt way too long to be reviewing.
Look, man, after some of the interceptions that got called back tonight, I was just waiting for there to be a look, man. Let me say this. I am somebody that is a firm believer, and I mean this wholeheartedly. I'm somebody that is a firm believer. You don't put the game in the hands of the referees. Mm-hmm. The referees didn't put Nicholas Singleton into the end zone 3 times. The referees didn't allow 204 rushing yards to Penn State. Look, all that is true. With that being said, because I've said my disclaimer, those were 2 of the softest defensive pass interference calls I've ever seen in my entire life watching football, not being hyperbolic. The first one, look, man, Christian Gray was impressed. If we're going to call any tug of the jersey at the line of scrimmage as holding before the pass was thrown, then throw it on every single play a receiver's press at the line of scrimmage, unless you go do what Jaden Greathouse did to Penn State's corner and put him on ice skates and then put the safety on ice skates afterwards, in case anybody forgot how that play went.
2 guys on their butts in that play.
2.
And the missed holding call on Christian Gray, that's obvious.
Man.
It's flat out obvious.
I mean, he come on.
And then in the end zone, again, you have 6'6", 250-pound Tyler Warren get face guarded like this, minimal contact, another flag thrown. Again, what are we doing here? But at the end of the day, the interception that counted was the one that ultimately sealed the game.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame lost on the turnover margin in the box score. We know how it went down. I'm going to just put that out there for everybody to hear. So take that for what it is. Take that for what you will. But nah, man, I'm excited to dive into this because there's a lot of good stuff. Also, a little nugget for you guys before we jump into offense and defensive stuff. Mm-hmm. Penn State's receiving core tonight, 0 receptions, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns. Just wanted to put that up there.
Seriously.
Just wanted to put that up there for if there's still question marks around who has a great secondary in college football and who does what. So, yeah.
You're not wrong, dude. Listen, you're not wrong. So that's a great transition. So do you guys have anything else you want to say big picture before we jump into this thing? I think we're good. Okay. So make sure you guys hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell, share with your family and friends. And of course, jump on the boards.irishbreakdown.com, where I have a feeling, just a funny inkling, there might be some good stuff over there over the next 10 days and some spirited conversation taking place. So you're definitely going to want to jump on the boards.irishbreakdown.com. Always going to be a good buy if you're not already over there. All right, boys, let's jump into the offense. And, the offense let's be honest, it was a tale of two halves. The offense did not look good in the first half. Injuries got him in the first half. 2 offensive linemen go down. Riley Leonard gets forced out of the game by the referee because of, he hit his head. Maybe he looked groggy. They never actually showed his face, but he got forced out. And he was out for a while, by the way, a lot longer than Tyler Warren was out when he got forced out of the game with a head thing. But I'm just saying. But look, the offense as a whole, let's start there. Wasn't the prettiest at times. It's like War and Peace. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Like, that is what the offense was in this game, guys. I don't even know how else to describe it. But again, this offense does what it needs to do to win the game. And when they needed to, they possessed the ball. They got into field goal range at the end. They got the touchdown when they're down 7 in the fourth quarter. Like, they did what they needed to do, and I hate to say it, the guy wearing the gold helmet outplayed the guy wearing the white helmet, even though the entire time leading up to this game, I was told that Drew Aller's a, first-round draft pick, and he's going to outplay Riley Leonard and blah, 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 blah. That is not how things played out. Riley Leonard threw 2 picks, no doubt about it. But again, Riley Leonard leads the team down to scoring drives when he needs to lead the team down to scoring drives. So, Sean, your overall thoughts on the offense?
I'm going to be honest. I think this was one of Mike Denbrock's, in my opinion, early on, one of Mike Denbrock's worst. I just didn't like the way they came out. They were very passive, in my opinion. Very passive, and they allowed Penn State to dictate. Penn State obviously wanted to use outside pressure to kind of pin the run game in, right? So they were going to pinch, but then they were going to bring pressure from the outside with defensive backs and try to keep Notre Dame from bouncing the ball outside. And that's really how they were able to keep safeties back and still affect the run game. And the adjustment would have been the screen game early. Quick screens, you have numbers. It's the same thing Penn State did. They anticipated the blitzes by Notre Dame, specifically on second downs, and then they would get to the tight end on the crosser in space, or they would get to the running backs on the free release. And I think later on, Notre Dame got to some of that stuff. It was really, the spark was Aeneas Williams in that aspect, because he started catching some ball. And this is what I think this is why Aeneas Williams is really effective, because they were able to break tendency with him tonight, right? There were a couple of times, I believe, Penn State saw him on the field and just assumed pass, because the majority of the time when Aeneas Williams is on the field, he's passing the ball, and they caught them a couple of times rushing upfield, and they were able to pop him underneath for some runs and then getting, attacking. I think we saw practice. I think with some clips from practice where we saw the tight ends working on some things in practice. And it was clear early on that Mike Denbrock wanted to attack the Penn State linebackers, in space with the tight ends and with the running backs. And they got to that more as the game went on as well. So, like Marcus Freeman said, it's really simple. They got the run game going. And then that allowed everything else to kind of play off of that. And I think getting the run game going got Mike Denbrock comfortable. So the offense, for me, had answers. That's the most impressive thing. They had answers. And they stepped up. Everyone stepped. Jaden Thomas, getting the jet sweep, making someone miss 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, getting the first down. Jordan Faison with his catches. Jaden Greathouse, Eli Raridan drawing the pass interference in the end zone, Mitchell Evans. Everyone just played fantastic. And I'm sure, like I said, when you guys break down the film, we can nitpick about certain things, but just overall, I think Mike Denbrock, his response and what he showed in the fourth quarter, because I think that was Was that 31 points in the fourth quarter by both teams? Yeah, 31 points in the fourth quarter by both teams. That was just, man, haymaker after haymaker after haymaker, right back at each other, play after play after play. Just phenomenal football. And so for me, disappointing for Mike Denbrock and how passive they came out offensively, but they picked it up when they needed to pick it up, and he got aggressive, almost too aggressive, because I think on the next to last series, when they got into Penn State territory around the 42-yard line, and he went to the pass, I'm like, wait a minute, it's 50 seconds left. Run the ball, get into field, and make them use their timeouts. That, for me, would have been the right thing to do. But he was, at that point, I'm like, yo, if you're going to be aggressive, I can't be mad at you being aggressive. And at that point, the pass pro really had been pretty good for the most of the second half to that point. So, once again, that's just nitpicking. I just think overall, I love what I saw from this team offensively. And if they can continue that and build upon that moving forward, they're going to be really tough to beat. Disappointed early, but, man, overjoyed late. And that's including the late interception. Just still overjoyed, you know, because I think that was just a bad read. He should have checked down and hit Faison coming across. But, you know,
I mean, look, you also got to tip your hat to a defensive end making a fingertip interception. I mean, that was a hell of a play. Look, you're right. He should have checked it down. Completely agree with everything you just said, but it was also a hell of a play. Like that
absolutely.
You don't expect a defensive end to make that play.
No.
So I'll just say that. Trevor, thoughts on the offense, my man?
Yeah, man. I mean, again, tale of two halves. And my biggest gripe with Notre Dame's offense up to this point is they played their style of offense. The style of offense that they ran was often dictated by the type of game that they were playing in, right? You look at that throughout the season. You know what I mean? Like you go and you look. That's why this offense is so frustrating, because they can rattle off points very quickly. He scored 24 points in the second half. You know what I mean? But you go through and you look at what this offense has done throughout the season, right? Defense is struggling early against Louisville. What do? They throw up 21 points in the first quarter. The defense is struggling against USC. They score 35 points in 3 quarters. So this offense has shown at times throughout the season that when they want to, they can dictate the pace of the game. However, the thing that bothers me about this offense sometimes is they gauge. It feels like this might not be true, right? Like I'm not in offensive meeting rooms. Like I don't, but what it looks like to me, what it feels like to me is they often dictate their style of play based on what the defense is doing. It's no surprise to me that after the first quarter, Penn State gets held to 3 points and Notre Dame's offense is a little bit passive, right? Defense in the second quarter starts giving up a few more chunk plays. Nicholas Singleton rips off the first touchdown score of the game, right? And then what happens? You go from calling a very passive game plan to, hey, it's time to not only turn things around and we have to get a little bit more aggressive. It's now we have to go show why we are the better offense, right? And so to me, there's a lot of adjustments that go into that. You know, their identity is running the football and having a heavy emphasis on first drive of the second half. You go for 8 plays, 7 of them are rushes. You cap it off with a rushing touchdown. You know, that is a team going back to their identity. I mean, Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price combined for like 8 carries at halftime. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that. And then how do you counter that? You have 7 run plays in the first drive of the second half. You know, and so that to me is a team getting back to, hey, let's settle down. Let's go back to doing the things that got us here. And it started to work out well for them, right? But it was punch after counter punch. And you know, Riley Leonard did what he has done all season. He responded after making mistakes. With the style of play that Riley Leonard has, you're going to have mistakes. And the interceptions were bad. Right? Like in the moment, me and Vince and Brian were texting about like that. Look, I will say the first interception was there. Like Jaden Harrison was open for the first down. Pressure forced a high throw. It is what it is. And in a situation like that, when the game's that close, you take the check down to Chris Mitchell. Right? But I understand the thought there. The second interception, yes, I will tip my cap to a defensive end making a play like that. that one is a little bit to where it's like, now the game is really on the line. That is I'm not saying play passive and just run and check down the entire game, but that one was tough. I'm not going to lie to you. That was a bad read. It was, plain and simple. And so, but he battled back. He did what he was supposed to. The kid rushed the ball 18 times tonight. You know, I mean, he rushed it 14 times against Georgia, 18 times. He has 32 carries across 2 games. You know, if somebody's feeling it right now, I know it's Riley Leonard. You know, and he compounded that, and he made big throws when he had to. You know, earlier in the season, I don't know if he rips that throw off to Jaden Greathouse, even though he made the defender fall down. You know,
well, here's the thing, though, Trevor, to your point, in the past, whoever the Notre Dame quarterback is doesn't see the fact that the defender fell down and he's got a guy wide open. Like in the past, we're watching the all-22 and we're like, you got to be kidding me. He was wide open. Why did he not get the football? You know what I'm saying? Like that ball doesn't get completed in the past. It gets completed now.
Yep.
So look, Riley Leonard has all kinds of shortcomings. We know what they are. In that moment, he was able to go through his reads and find a guy that was absolutely wide open because there was no defender.
Yeah.
And you got to give him credit for that, right? Sometimes those are the hardest throws to make where a guy is just absolutely wide open, and he did. So yeah. I do give him credit for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you go through and you look at players that I've scrutinized this season a little bit, like Mitchell Evans. I've had a lot of question marks about him this season, man. And for him to make the type of contested catches that he made tonight, I'm not going to – I've already had my moment of he's back to 2023 form. I'm not going to make that mistake twice, right? But the plays that he made tonight were difference makers, right? They were chain movers. He's making contested catches to where it did look like, you know, hey, this is shades of what we know that you're capable of doing. You know, the last player that I'll touch on, and it's the obvious one, right? Like Steve Angeli, and he's been somebody that's been on another roller coaster of emotions this season. You know, he goes from Texas A&M, thank God Riley's our starter, to after Northern Illinois, it's like, why the hell is Steve not our starter, right? And you start hearing all of these things week over week. And in a day and age where the transfer portal is so readily available, and Steve Angeli is 100% a quarterback that could go start at most schools in the country. And I think we can all agree on that, right? Yep. In an age where the transfer portal and NIL is such a big thing, Steve Angeli comes in, doesn't waver. You know, he was never daunted, as some of our friends in the first round would like to say. And he came in and led the first scoring drive for Notre Dame of the game. You know what I mean? It was poetic, I think, in a sense, right? The players that stepped up for Notre Dame on offense were the ones that had a little bit of a tumultuous season, right? Charles Jagasaw gets asked to come in, and he's somebody that had a lot of preseason hype, tears his pec. You know, you have Tosh Baker step in at left tackle who watched a true freshman take his starting job in fall camp. Right? You have Steve Angeli come in where he had most of Irish Nation screaming his name from the rooftops to be the starter, stayed with the team, came in, did his job. You know, and so you have all of these guys that stepped up in so many different ways. And my overall takeaway from the offense is they continued to battle. They didn't let any of the mistakes phase them. They found another way to win, which, like I said at the start of the show, man, sometimes the most dangerous team in college football are the teams that they just find ways to win, man. They just find ways to win. And that's what this offense has been able to do, man. That's what this offense has been able to do. So it's kind of my 2 cents with the offense.
Yeah, let's break this thing down now, fellas. And let's start up front with the big boys. You know, one of the things that Notre Dame had going for it this whole season was the fact that they had the same 5 guys for a relatively long period of time. And they were gelling together. They were, you know, doing what they needed to do to get better, work together, you know, all of those things. And 2 guys go out. 2 guys go out. Now, you bring in a guy who, the second guy, you know, in Jagasaw, you bring in a guy who is supposed to be your starting left tackle, hasn't practiced at tackle since August. He's been at right guard. And, you know, when Anthony Knapp goes down, you know, there's plenty of people out there that were like, okay, you got to bring in Jagasaw. which obviously wasn't going to happen because we know he hasn't practiced there in a very, very long time. He's been practicing on the other side of the line at guard. So we knew that wasn't going to happen. But then when Rocco goes down, okay, well, now it's Jagasaw's time. He played like a man possessed. Like, he played like the guy who we all thought was going to be the starter this entire time and be that kind of a, potential freshman All-American, all of these different things. That's how he played in this game. And hats off to Tosh Baker for what he was able to do in this game, man. Like, yeah, I think there was one time where I think somebody had a bull rush around him or whatever. And you saw the front of his jersey and you didn't want to see the front of his jersey, that kind of a thing. But I'll tell you what, Tosh Baker played hard. He played hard. He battled, man. Like, it was not a revolving door on the left side of the line. Now, the toughest draw of the game was obviously what Emil Wagner had to deal with all day with the Carter kid. I mean, look, there was nothing wrong with his legs. And, he made Notre Dame pay on numerous occasions because he's just that good. He's that guy. There's a reason he's the number 2 rated guy in the NFL draft, right? I mean, he's really, really good. Emil Wagner had his wins and he had some losses, but he battled the entire time. And then you got Pat Coogan, Mr. Speech, right? I mean, he played well from what I can tell. There was a couple of times where Billy Schrouth kind of let his guy get through and some miscommunication. That was a little rough in the first half. Didn't see that in the second half. So, the offensive line with 40% new guys out there, I thought played a hell of a second half. And they took the fight to Penn State where, like I said, and I don't want to be repeat myself, but that doesn't happen in the past. Okay. Once they kind of got punched in the mouth, they don't punch back. Notre Dame punched back, and it started up front on the offense. They punched back. Now, Denbrock did some stuff, obviously, with some pin and pull, with some tackle wrap. They did some different things, but it allowed the guys that were in the game to kind of take a little bit more control of what they were trying to do, in the trenches. And my hat's off to the offensive line. Again, I like to kind of reserve a little bit of judgment till I watch the All-22 when it comes to the offensive line. And they definitely lost their fair share of battles. There's no doubt. But they absolutely battled the entire time in the second half. What made you forget about the first half? That's my biggest takeaway from the offensive line, Sean.
Then you just talked about something, and because you guys do a great job upon, when you guys do the Upon Further Review show. Was the injury a blessing in disguise?
Could have been.
Because going into halftime, what you just described that he went to, now he knew he had a more athletic guard. He knew Jagasaw moves much better than Coogan, and Coogan was already injured. And so maybe that afforded him to say, okay, we can go to this. Because we know, you just talked about some of the blocks Jagasaw threw when he was pulling. Coming around.
He was decleating dudes, man. Like, I can't wait to clip some of these and put them out because he was absolutely decleting guys. Period.
Like, he was trying to find somebody on the Jeremiah Love touchdown. Like, Love was stretching out. He was coming, trying to find somebody to hit. And I'm like, you know what? This is very... Oh, he wears the same number. He was very Quentin Nelson.
Yeah, he was.
That number 56 he has that nastiness to him in his game. And you have to love it, man. I just think, I think they come back from the 2-minute warning and they have the point of view from behind. And you just see the offensive line all just give each other fist bumps. Like, here we go. Like, this is where we do it. And ultimately, they ended up having to punt the ball away. But you could just see that they were committed. Those 5 guys, like, pretty much, we're all we have left. It's not too many more bodies that we could go to. It's up to us. And like you said, they answered the bell. And I think Abdul Carter started to wear down a little bit later in the game. One series, he was just on the sideline. I think he only came in for third downs, strictly for pass rush. And then later in the game, they just used him as a spy on Riley Leonard. So I think the offensive line, man, for the longest, and I've said this, they are always the whipping boys and the low-hanging fruit when Notre Dame doesn't play well in big games. And tonight, I'm happy that when they had that moment and it seemed like it was trending towards, this might not be going well, they decided to stand up and say, no, we're about to set the tone, beginning with this first drive in the second half. You know, but that Coogan injury could have been a blessing in disguise, you know, at halftime to allow Notre Dame. I mean, Rocco, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah,
I don't want people getting mad at you. That's all.
No, because they definitely would have been in the chat immediately. But the Rocco injury, I'm sorry, was a blessing in disguise, man. But this team is just, I'm just amazed because this is coaching, right? Everybody's ready.
Yep.
Now, opportunity arises, whomever it arises for, they're ready. They're ready. I mean, heck, Luke Tallett with the big hit on special teams, dude. But no, just the offensive line for me. Unsung heroes tonight, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Unsung heroes.
We'll sing about them. Yeah.
Everybody would talk about everybody else, but they did a great job. Like, really pass pro second half, setting the tone in the running game and giving Mike Denbrock the ability to get to some other things, you know, that produce big plays. So,
Trevor, thoughts on the O-line, my man?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Like, it's tough. I'm not somebody that can break down offensive line play watching like the live game. I always have to go back and watch the all 22, but I don't think it's any mystery that this is a really strong Penn State defensive line, right? Like, you have guys like Abdul Carter and Devon J. Thomas and Zane Duran and Denai Dennis Sutton and, you know, all of these guys that continue to rotate in. They were a talented front and a different front from what you saw in the Sugar Bowl, right? Georgia was more of like the big, like physical, like let's stop you at the line of scrimmage. Penn State was the more finessey offensive line or defensive line, right? They like to penetrate the backfield. They like to force tackles for a loss, which they did a good job of in this game. You know what I mean? Like, they had 8 tackles for loss this game. You know, that puts them at 119 on the season. So they are a very disruptive unit, and I think for the most part, Notre Dame's offensive line did a good job at holding them at bay. You know what I mean? It's weird. I don't know. There's a whole lot of offensive lines in the country where their starting left tackle and their starting right guard goes out, and then they get bigger. You know what I mean? Like that's a weird thought. I mean, Knapp is 6'4", 296. Rocco Spindler's a big dude. I mean, he's 6'5", like 320, 325, and Jagasaw 6'7". You know, Tosh Baker's 6'8". So you got some big dudes coming in to fill some shoes. But again, I can't sing the praises enough of guys like Tosh Baker and Charles Jagasaw, setting aside what preconceived notions might be about the offensive line and are they ready to play? Can they handle the moment? And I think they came in and more than handled their business. You know what I mean? So for me, the offensive line adjusted.
Yeah.
You know, they did what they needed to start establishing the ground game. I honestly thought pass protection tonight for a team that's really good at pinning their ears back and getting pressure on the quarterback, all things considered, I thought it was decent. Like, I know it's going to go down as, you know, Penn State tallied 5 sacks. The one, and look, I'm not, like we said at the start of the show, I'm not using this to critique any quarterback specifically. It's just you saw certain things go down in this game that Riley Leonard's strengths were highlighted. Steve Angeli's strengths were highlighted.
Sure.
Steve Angeli played for 1 series and he got sacked twice. You know what I'm saying? Riley Leonard played the rest of the game and was sacked 3 times.
Right. And got out a few of them, by the way.
Right. And so it's like you just see the strengths of other players. You know what I mean? But to me, I don't think pass protection, the pass protection, first of all, was monumentally better than whatever it was in the Sugar Bowl. I don't even have to go back and watch the All 22 to know that. Right. That's just eye test. Riley Leonard in one game passed for 90 yards, but went 15 of 24 because he couldn't get the ball farther than 2 yards past the line of scrimmage. Tonight, he went 15 to 23 for 223 yards. Right. In one drive, Steve Angeli goes 6 of 7 for 44. So pass protection was better tonight. It was. Mm-hmm. And some of it could have been just based on some of the personnel that came in. You know what I mean? Like, it's the offensive line They played well in the moments that they needed to step up. They did. When Notre Dame had to drive down the field to take the lead, to respond to a turnover, to respond to a Penn State score, the offensive line didn't waver. There were issues, right? Like they didn't play perfectly. Sean, I think you said it perfectly, is that just whenever there's a bad game, whenever Notre Dame loses, it's always the offensive line, right? Like you always start with the big guys up front. And in the first half, outside of that final drive where Steve led it to kick the field goal, I was like, yo, this is not great. Getting dominated physically in both sides of the football in the trenches. But it's, you know what, man? Offensive line did their job tonight. They stepped up. They filled in. I said at the start of the show, there's a lot of talk about, left tackle gets hurt, starting center gets hurt, Billy Schrouth gets hurt for a while, then comes back at left guard, and then Sam Pendleton gets replaced, and, a lot of shuffling along the offensive line, and then 2 more starters go down tonight, and they were able to respond. It's a big deal.
It's amazing, frankly.
So
the depth at the offensive line right now is amazing. It just is. It just is.
Yeah, which, look, the season's still going on. I'm not trying to get the cart too far in front of the horse here. There is no excuse for Notre Dame in the fall of 2025 to not have the best offensive line in college football.
No doubt, because there's going to be some serious dudes on the bench
right now
in the fall. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
if it is a legitimate 5-man battle, right? I mean, all 5 positions open. That's what I would. I mean, if I'm Joe Rudolph and I'm Marcus Freeman, it's like, oh, I'm walking in the offensive line room. I'm like, look, there have been like 9 of you that have played at a high level at one point or another in the 24 season. It's wide open. Go win a job.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that in the fall of next season, the starting defensive line is going up against a scout team where some of the members of the scout team offensive line started in 2 New Year's Six bowls.
Correct.
Like, that's crazy.
Yes.
That's crazy, man. Like, gosh. Notre Dame's getting ready to play for a national championship, and the future's still really bright. Like, I've seen a lot of narratives around, like, this is just a historic run, and, like, Notre Dame put all their eggs into their basket for, like, this season. It's like, you guys just don't pay attention. This team's going to be better. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
on paper, like, they're going to get more athletic. They're going
offensively, they will be better next year than they are this year. It's going to look completely different. But we'll get to that. Don't worry. We've got, 8 months to talk about what we think the offense is going to be in 25. Right now, we're still talking 24. Skill positions. Let's talk skill positions, not quarterback, but skill positions. Because, in this game, we've talked a lot in the postseason specifically about Notre Dame wide receivers and how they've kind of been a no-show at times. And the fact that we kind of still like the matchups of Notre Dame's receivers against Penn State's defensive backs. And you know what? The receivers came to play today. And Mitchell Evans, for that matter. He's obviously involved in the skill positions. And, you've got some, as Sean would like to say, some unsung heroes, maybe some guys that you didn't think were going to play such a key role. Aeneas Williams, I think, falls in that category. When you're talking about skill position guys, I mean, they had to lean on him more in this game than they ever have. He's your third down back. He played more than just third down, right? They actually split him out, threw the ball to him. I mean, you want to talk about, I was watching the game with a bunch of guys, and you look at the matchup of Aeneas Williams and a linebacker from Penn State. That's a matchup that Notre Dame wins, and they did, and they went after it. I thought the skill kids, they came to play today. They really did. I mean, you guys have given love to Jeremiah Love for obvious reasons. The kid played incredibly hard, played with that big old clunky brace on too, by the way. I know they said in the broadcast that he was planning not to do that, but he threw it on just as a precaution. That's not an easy thing to play with, first of all. And he did. And he was still not as explosive as he normally is, but he was still explosive enough. He was still able to fight for those yards. He was still like, you're going to tell me that his knee is hurting and he is dragging Nittany Lions across the goal line for that touchdown. I mean, Jeremiah Love gave everything he had, man. Now, I'm glad he's got 10 days to heal up as much as he possibly can for whoever they get in the next game. But across the board, man, Greathouse, Love, Price, Williams, Evans, Faison. I mean, Colsey came out and threw some pretty key blocks. Like he had some clock tonight, guys, and he hasn't had clock in a while. ate breakfast right next to his parents when we were down in New Orleans, and they saw I was wearing Notre Dame gear, and they're like, "Go Irish!" And his mom was friggin' adorable, man. She had a jersey, a 0 jersey. It said Colsey's mom. I loved it. But I mean, just super sweet people. But like, Colsey came to play. Like, I don't care if you didn't catch a ball. I don't care. Like, you're throwing blocks out there. You're helping the team get first downs. So he stepped up. Like, across the board, I was pretty happy with the skill guys on offense.
Real quick, let me say this, because Mike Denbrock, we want to talk about what he did to help ignite Notre Dame's offense, and it's small. But one of the things that I appreciated is after Bo Collins went out, they started rotating Jaden Thomas and Deion Colsey in the boundary. And the first play, because whenever Deion comes in, it's a run play.
Yeah.
Right.
The
first play Deion touches the field, it's a pass play. It's little things like that, right? Where like that's when you start playing chess. Like that's when Mike Denbrock is in his bag. That's when you start to notice, like, okay, like I was standing up in the living room watching this game, and I saw Colsey out there. I was like, please be a pass. You know what I mean? Like, it's just go against the tendency. They were out, and I think it was 12 personnel. I think Raridan and Evans were on the field at the same time. So they had their big guy package in. They had Faison to the top of the screen, and they had Colsey down at the bottom, and it was like, yo, figure out a way to pass. And they did. So I'm beyond happy with that one. But overall takeaways from the skilled positions as a whole: one, get Jaden Greathouse the football, man. 7 receptions on 7 targets is pretty phenomenal. You know what I mean? So I'm beyond happy with that. Aeneas Williams stepped up in a big way. I am now, not that I wasn't before, right? Like I'm not, but add him to the list now of, well, maybe you can stop Love and Price, but you can't stop Leonard and Aeneas. That some combination of those 4. I mean, Aeneas Williams going for 5 catches for 66 yards is massive.
Oh,
so skilled players stepped up in a big way. Like I said, Mitchell Evans coming up with a few key contested catches is huge. Jaden Thomas on a end around, to pick up a first down at a crucial moment in the game. Man,
he can get skinny for a big guy, man. Like,
yeah.
there wasn't a huge hole once he turned the corner. And he just picked up those extra yards, man. Like, he found a way to just kind of, get in there. And they've run that play a few different times this season. And I'm like, really? Is that the guy that you want to be running that play to? Like, I've questioned it. You know what? It worked this time. And it worked very, very well. So, Sean, I'm going to throw it to you, skill guys.
I think even early in the game when the pass pro wasn't as good, and I think Trevor pointed it out on the interception, in that drive, Jaden Harrison was open twice. One ended up getting knocked down, or changed the trajectory because of the pressure. And then Riley climbs the pocket and throws high for the interception. And then you have other plays we can point out where Faison was open coming across the middle, and there were some other opportunities. So receivers were getting open tonight. I think even Steve Angeli was getting ready to throw, I believe, a corner to Greathouse when on that third down play where they ended up having to settle because he got pressure from behind. And I thought the receivers did a really good job, but I thought Mike Denbrock did a masterful job of setting things up, isolating the linebackers, whether it was with the tight ends or the great double move by Aeneas Williams. Just absolutely. And you talk about a freshman forcing his way into the rotation. You have to love that. That young man, because that room is talented. That room is talented. Yeah. Yeah.
How did you get a champion shirt?
He ran down on the field.
Did you steal that from like the players? Did you like tackle somebody like a walk-on? What did you do? How did you get that? That's crazy.
They gave one to Angela.
Wow.
She was down there on the field of photographers.
Nice.
That is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I IB gear back on.
That is hilarious, man. Well done, Angela. That's what I have to say to that.
But yeah, I think it's fantastic when you talk about the skill position players, because I think we would all agree, if you look at the overall makeup of this team, most people would say that is the last step offensively specifically at the wide receivers. And if you want to nitpick, you want to talk about the passing game evolving and developing from the quarterback position, then you could talk about that. But I think from a production standpoint, and Trevor, you said it, this team offensively, man, I've said it multiple times. It's hard to deal with a team that going into the games, 5 or 6 guys can jump up and bite you, like legitimately. Like, we've been waiting for the Jaden Greathouse game. Like, we knew it was coming, and we've been waiting for it, and it comes at the right time. Mitchell Evans, I think, has been improving week after week as he got healthier, and probably as his he dealt with some things from an attitude standpoint, got full buy-in. He started being more effective, and then you start to see the symmetry between him and Riley Leonard. So they got him going early. So it's just too many weapons, man. This is just not, the contrast is Tyler Warren in the passing game. That's all you have, right? And if you can shut him down, there's pretty much nothing else in the passing game. Where with Notre Dame, they might not have that Jeremiah Smith #1 guy. They might not even have an Ibuka. But what they do have is guys, when asked to do something, they do it. And like you said, Jaden Harrison had opportunities early on where he was open. They weren't able to protect and get him the ball. So, man, the skill position guys have one of their, I would say, including the run game, they have one of their best games.
I agree.
One of the best games.
Well, I agree. And it was efficient, right? Like, outside of the interceptions, it was efficient. Jaden Greathouse had 7 receptions on 7 targets. Aeneas Williams had 5 receptions on 5 targets. They targeted Mitchell Evans 9 times, and he still had 5 catches. You know what I mean? And so it was very much a different type of passing offense that we've seen out of Notre Dame tonight, opposed to the other games that we've seen this season, right? And so there was more of an emphasis to push the ball down the field. You have Aeneas Williams streaking up the sideline. You had Jaden Greathouse break that kid off for a big play. You had Mitchell Evans early with a contested catch up the sideline. So there was an emphasis early, and I appreciated that they were willing to attack one-on-one coverage, right? Like, that has been my biggest gripe of this passing attack all season, is just give your guys a chance.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's going to talk about Jaden Greathouse's route and breaking off Jalen Reed in the secondary, which all those things are true. Right. But his best catch of the game was contested. It was that back shoulder, like, slot fade that they threw to him. I mean, and that was Riley Leonard getting hit, where he just said, you know what? I think my guy is better than your guy. Go make a play.
That was awesome.
And it's things like that where, like, that's what's been missing out of this passing offense for me.
Before I throw it to Brian on the skill guys, I love the fact that early on in the game, every time the Penn State secondary would make a play, they'd do that stupid flying thing. And by the end of the game, Notre Dame's receivers were doing it right back to them. Like, that's the swagger and the dog that this team has been missing for decades, man. And they were giving it to them. And they let their play back it up. I just wanted to throw that out there because we hadn't talked about it yet. Brian, we're talking skill positions on the offense, just kind of overall, not the quarterback. We'll get to those 2 guys later.
Guys, I mean, it's a lot like what you were talking about, Sean. I think it's a great point, because Penn State was a 3-man show tonight. I mean, Drew Aller, 4-man show. Drew Aller made some plays tonight. His receiving core struggled, but he had some really nice scrambles in the game and did some nice things. That corner route to Tyler Warren after Notre Dame took a 17-10 lead was an absolute dime. But it's Tyler Warren, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, and Drew Aller against Riley Leonard, Aeneas Williams, Jeremiah Love, Jaden Greathouse, Jordan Faison, Jaden Thomas with the 4th and 1 15-yard game, Mitchell Evans, and Eli Raritan. I mean, it was unbelievable, guys. I mean, it's just, you talk about how this team just finds different ways to win. Last week it was, Riley had to put the team on his shoulders a little bit. And Jadarian Price had some big runs in the second half. And, Jordan Faison had a big game, but you didn't really get a whole lot else from anybody else. I mean, Jaden Greathouse, I think, had like the 1 catch. And and those type of things. But it was one of those things where you needed other things to step up. It was special teams, it was defense. Well, guess what? Tonight, guys, defense had some big moments, but the defense was not feeling it in the first half tonight. They weren't, and the offense didn't answer the bell. I mean, you had that nice early drive, but second half, you talk about. Well, one thing the offense did well, like you had some of those contested catches. You had the great catch by Mitchell Evans, which was one of Riley's better balls of the season. I thought that throw, which kind of helped them. The field position mattered a little bit with some of those throws. But second half, it's like Denbrock was just like, everybody's got to step up second half. Everybody. And it was Aeneas, it was Jeremiah, it was Jordan Faison, it was Chris Mitchell had a catch. I mean, it was Mitchell Evans. And it was just all those different weapons. And it's like, no matter who you try to stop, there's somebody else that's going to step up and make a play. And you guys were talking about this. It's not just, you had the wide open play that Jaden Greathouse had, which I thought was hilarious. Sean McDonough's like, the guy just fell down, like the guy tripped over his own cleats or something. It had nothing to do with him getting an Allen Iverson crossover at the line of scrimmage. You know what I mean? Which, when we talk about winning off the line, that is winning off the line. And then he makes that great play. I mean, that was just Jaden Greathouse. But Trevor, I think you said it. The best catch he made all night was the back shoulder, and I believe that was on a third down, if I remember correctly. Was that not on a third? Was to the play to Greathouse? Was that not on a third down? I'm trying to find that play in my notes. Was that second half? That was second half, right?
That's the first drive in second half on third down, right?
Yeah, I thought it was third down. Or let's see here. No, it wasn't second drive of the game. Let me find it here real quick. I got my phone blowing up. People trying to call me still at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, bro, I'm doing a show. But I'm trying. It was 3rd and 9 on the third drive of the half. It was the play. It was the drive where Jeremiah Love scored the 2-yard touchdown run. 3rd and 9, just an absolute dime by Riley Leonard on that play. Didn't get to finish his follow through, and he makes a contested play. And then you get to 3rd and 1. It was 3rd and 1, not 4th and 1. Excuse me. Jaden Thomas steps up and makes a play. So, like, think about on that drive. You had a 9-yard catch to Mitchell Evans. You had Riley Leonard moving the chains on a 3rd and 1. You had Jeremiah Love scored a touchdown, a great slot fade by Jaden Greathouse. Riley has a great scramble. Jaden Thomas makes a play. Eli Raridan draws a pass interference on what would have been a touchdown. If he doesn't get interfered with, he smokes Kobe King. And that's something, Trev, you and I talked about, is there's some linebacker safety matchups that you can take advantage of, and Denbrock did that. And then Jeremiah Love I had a friend of mine call me. He's like, that's the play that sums up that entire game. They just were not going to get beat. He was not going to get, you're like, I don't care if Abdul Carter hits me, Kobe King can hit me. You can send 5 guys at me. I'm scoring on this play, and you can't stop me from scoring on this play. And when you talk about the skill positions, it's like, it's just every week it's somebody different that steps up. And I don't know how you keep a team down for 4 quarters when they've got that many different weapons. And I think tonight we saw that they needed receivers and tight ends to step up, because Penn State said, we are coming for your run game. We're going to shut your run game down, and we're going to dare your quarterback and your receivers to beat us. And they said, bet. And it was ugly early, but I honestly, guys, I got to say it, I didn't think they had it in them. I'm going to be real about it, because that team just looked exhausted in the first half of that game. Exhausted. And to come out in the second half with that same energy, with the energy that they had, I'm like, I don't know what got said at halftime, and I don't know what they were inhaling in the locker room at halftime to give them that like burst of energy. You know what I mean? I felt like they got some like Pac-Man power pellets in the locker room at halftime or something like that, because the energy they came out with that second half was huge. I mean, Mitchell Evans, even that first route, I mean, he was sharp coming off the ball. Like they came out on that drive with purpose. You guys, we use the word, coming off the line with urgency. They were coming off the line, off the ball with urgency on that drive. Like, Mitchell coming off the line, Jaden's release and great catch. I mean, Jeremiah Love getting in the end zone, urgency. And they wouldn't be denied. They just would not be denied in that game. And like, even after the interception, they needed to convert at least 1 first down, or they weren't in field goal range. They were not in field goal range when Christian Gray made that interception.
They needed like another 10 yards, basically. Yeah.
And when you talk about that middle 8, I mean, let's talk about the role that Aeneas Williams had on that, in this game. So it just was an unbelievable performance by this Notre Dame football team, guys. And I got to say this too. I didn't get a chance to say it earlier but Mike Denbrock, the second half adjustments he made were exceptional. And you talk about you're trying to run your inside-outside zone, and it's not working. You're getting whipped up front. So they come out second half, and they run pin and pull. First of all, when they got to delay a game, I was like, it's done. They're not in it to win it. And then they ran that pin and pull, and Jeremiah got 6 yards, and he just looked like he had a little bit more juice. You run a counter on the next play. Charles Jackson had 2 monster blocks on those 2 drives. He took one dude, and it's offensive line. You run a tackle wrap for 9 yards the next play, and run that all game. They've been running counter and inside zone. You come out second one, you get the outside zone. Then you run a motion to empty sluggo against Kobe King with Aeneas Williams, not Jeremiah Love, not Jadarian Price. Your freshman running back, he runs a great route sluggo, which is we knew he could do that. Kid had over 2,000 yards receiving in high school. Riley throws a dime. They come back with a tackle wrap next play, not to Jeremiah Love, not to Jadarian Price, but to Aeneas Williams, and he gets him in 1st and goal. I mean, it just was like, hey, we're going to throw all of our weapons at you on this drive. And it was a brilliantly called drive, and it was great second half adjustments from Mike Denbrock to be able to get them going. And from that moment on, Penn State was on their heels a little bit in that second half, and they just didn't know who was going to come at them. And, man, I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
You talk about that middle 8. Were there things in that middle 8, guys, that you think just subtle things? Like Notre Dame and Mike Denbrock, did they find something during the Angeli series? Did they find something like going into halftime, like, okay, maybe this, maybe that? Then we talked about it, the injury, and getting Jagasaw in there that might be a more athletic guard. And then they go to the pin and pull, and he was just devastating, run blocking. It was just things. And then prophetically, I don't know if you guys were, I know Brian in here, but you guys were watching the game. When they talked to James Franklin, he was prophetic. He was like, look, that was a clutch 3 points for them, and they're the best at the middle 8, and we have to make sure that we come out and win this middle 8, or it's going to be a tough game. And lo and behold, that's exactly what Notre Dame. Yeah, I just think it goes to what Brian said. Marcus Freeman telling his team, relax, don't panic. Like, we played bad, and we're only down 1 possession. Like, relax. Let's focus and play our game. And offensively, like you said, man, the skill position guys have taken a lot of heat this year, right? And I think Bo Collins was out. Was he one of those guys that was ill?
I don't know that he was ill. I was told by several people that was way overplayed.
Okay.
There was like a couple guys in the secondary that had a little bit of bug. It wasn't really anybody major. I think that stuff was way overplayed. But he something might have happened to him. He might have not, but he didn't play, I don't think, at all in the second half.
Do you think, from like watching there, because the Penn State defensive backfield was talked about glowingly coming to this game, did they meet what you expected of them? Did they look like a top-notch defensive backfield? Because, like I said, it looked like Notre Dame, whether they were man-to-man or zone, they were getting open.
Look,
and they were open in zone.
Trev, Vince, and I, we've done a lot of shows where we talked about Penn State this year, Sean. And every time we said their weakness is the secondary. I shouldn't say weakness. They're where they're vulnerable because they're a really good defense, but where you can go at them is in the secondary. And I don't think that late first half drive, they didn't find anything. It gave them confidence, like they needed the points. It gave them momentum. But Penn State was playing off. They were playing off coverage. They were letting Notre Dame hit checkdowns. I don't think they found anything. I think what they did is Penn State was coming hard up the middle. And by running some of those traps and running some of those pin and pulls, as they were basically trying to create run lanes and taking that aggressiveness. I mean, look, Vince, I know you and I have been in this situation before where you've got a team that's really attacking you up the middle. So you just kind of down block them and try to get outside of it. And that's what they did. I think they just basically adjusted to how aggressive Penn State was with their line, adjusted to how aggressive they were with some of their slants and how hard the linebackers are coming down. and basically say, instead of trying to zone block them where they're kind of beating us off the ball, let's just down block them. Let's try to pin and pull them. Let's try to get outside of them and create some gash plays. And that's exactly what they did. So, you saw that on the couple Jeremiah Love runs, and then you saw that on the tackle wrap that Aeneas broke for a big play also. So, those were all things that we saw in that football game as well.
So let's talk quarterbacks. And I say quarterbacks plural because 2 played for Notre Dame today. And, we got you know what? Let's start with Steve Angeli. I want to start with Steve Angeli, give him his due because of what he was able to do in this game. There's people that keep talking about him. And look, we've had plenty of conversations, and you talked about this in the open, Brian. There's plenty of time to talk about Steve Angeli and who he is to this team and what he is moving forward and all of those things. This is not that time. We're going to talk about what he did in this game. It was the perfect moment for Steve Angeli, and he did what he needed to do to move the team down the field for their first score of the game. Where, look, Notre Dame was being shut out. They had 0 points when Riley Leonard went out of this game. They had 0 points, and they were not close to scoring yet. And he took them down the field. He did. He took them down the field. There were no amazing throws. Penn State was kind of giving him some checkdowns. He took them. Those were the correct reads. It's what he needed to do. He showed some of what he is with some of his immobility, and that's fine. But he did what he needed to do once they got into the red zone and the defense was compressed a little bit more. Look, Notre Dame knows who Steve Angeli is, and that's totally fine. They let the clock go down, kick the field goal. It was only 2nd down at that point. I don't know that they do that if it's not Steve.
No, I think
that's my opinion.
Meaning you don't think they would have gone down and got points if it wasn't Steve?
No. I'm saying at that moment, after the Angeli sack, there was like 20 seconds to go. They let the clock go all the way down to kick the field goal. I feel like maybe if Riley was in there, they take another shot at the end zone before they kick the field goal.
Because after the sack and the fumble, they ran a couple more plays because there was
another sack.
You're talking about the one on the
second sack
snap?
Yeah, the second sack.
I think honestly Vince, I don't know that if they would have done anything to do with it. You could be right. I think it had more to do with at that point in time the offensive line was just getting heated up a little bit. I think that's more of what it was. Like we can't take a chance to get another sack and get out of field goal range. Is what I think that was. I think that was a smart play. But like you said, what Steve did is he needed to be calm.
Yep. Check.
And poised, and he was.
Check.
Because the team needs to see that. Hey, calm down. We're fine. Riley's out. I'm in. We're good. Be smart with the football. He was. Mm-hmm. Penn State was playing off. He took the checkdowns.
Right.
Because the checkdowns is where he needed to go. Had a nice ball. I think it was Mitchell Evans that caught that. He threw an early ball. I believe it was to Mitchell Evans. And, it was, I didn't mark that down, but he was poised, man. And that's what we talked about at the beginning of the show is one thing about Steve Angeli is I've made my opinion known about whether or not Steve can be like the guy as opposed to someone coming off the bench. But the reason you love Steve Angeli as your backup quarterback, because he's going to step in the game and just be like, fine, it's all good. I'm here. We're going to be okay. And he did what he needed to do. And like the big mistake on that drive was the sack where he got stripped. And, sure, I guess you could say you got to have a little bit more awareness, but I said the same thing about Gunnar Stockton last week. You can't expect a quarterback to see a speed rush, a wide blindside speed rush off the edge like that where the guy comes high. You just got to do a better job if you're Tosh of getting to that guy. So he did what he needed to do, right? And I don't know that that series opened Notre Dame's eyes to anything, to answer your question, Sean, because Penn State changed how they played.
Correct.
Because it was 2 minutes. But what I think it did is they needed that, hey, we're within us. Hey, guys, as bad as we played in the first half, we get the ball to start the half, and we're down 1 score.
Mm-hmm.
We're fine. And that drive was huge towards that. Because if it's 10-0, guys, I don't know if Notre Dame still has that same level of confidence. Maybe they would have, but I think it was important to get that. And that's why Steve Angeli is a great backup quarterback.
Correct.
He's just going to step into that moment and just be like, I haven't played in a month. Okay, this is my job. My job is to come in and lead this team down the field and get points. And he did that. Yeah, did his job.
He absolutely did. He absolutely did his job. Absolutely.
They needed it.
Fellas, your thoughts on Steve and what he was able to do tonight?
Just an example of everyone in this program having value. That's just the way you feel, and I think all of these players feel like they have value. I'm sure at other programs, top-notch guys probably get treated different, looked at different, but the expectation for everyone in the program is, Mike, he says it best. I don't have ones and twos. I have 1A and 1B. Like everyone practice and prepare as if you're going to play. And you can tell that that's hammered in every position room. And guys, when they get the opportunities, and so Steve Angeli, for me, the game was just a microcosm of this entire season, if you want to be honest, man. It was a microcosm of this entire season. And Steve Angeli has every right to feel a certain way, but these kids that just bought into Marcus Freeman, this program, and what it means and the journey and the belief that they are going to be the best team when it's all said and done. And they're not letting go of that rope. They're not. And so, like you said, Brian, it's nothing for him. That's who he is, man. He's been composed. And like in the midst of transfers, he has been the guy in that room that people kind of look to in certain situations. He just really went out there and was himself. Like that's all he can be, right? And that's all really Notre Dame asks of anyone that they put on the field. Like you be yourself, and we're going to find a way. We're going to coach to what you can do, and that's exactly what they did with Steve in that situation. And got the 3 points, and once they got the 3 points, they went to halftime, and they had to feel great. They had to feel great. If we come out and score, it's a tie game. And with everything that had transpired to that point, once they tied the game up, Penn State had to feel a certain way. And I think they did. And I think they went into a little bit of a lull, and credit to them for responding. But, yeah, Steve Angeli tonight, man, he's the perfect – he was a Notre Dame quarterback. He's a Notre Dame quarterback. Backup, that's what his job is on the depth chart, but he was a Notre Dame quarterback when his number was called. He was tough, and he did what he needed to do and what was asked of him. So,
Trevor, thoughts on Mr. Angeli?
Yeah, man, I'll keep it brief because I don't want to beat a dead horse. Steve Angeli came in and did what he needed to do, right? I mean, Marcus Freeman preaches all the time. Team glory over individual glory, and you're going to start getting individual glory when you start putting the team first, and that's exactly what Steve Angeli did tonight, man. And I think he embodies what this team is about. Like I said at the start of the show, kid easily could have entered the transfer portal, started listening to Nil. He could have quit on his team halfway through the year because he didn't like his playing time, and he stayed because he saw what the greater value was. And Notre Dame, who knows, right? Like I don't want to prophesize anything. I'm not going to come on here and say if Steve Angeli didn't go in and do what he did, Notre Dame loses. But I know that he came in and did what he did and they won, right? So Steve Angeli played really well tonight, man. And it was like a short-lived series. He did everything that he needed to go in there. So for me, he did what he needed to. It was a good performance, man.
Bro, we don't need to know what they have won if he doesn't come in, blah, blah. He played a role in the win.
Yeah.
Like, we need to do the whole, well, what happens if he plays the whole second half? What if he doesn't come in? Look, it doesn't matter. They didn't bring him in because Riley was struggling. Riley got knocked out, which is even more impressive because Steve had 5 seconds to get ready to go in the game. It wasn't like Riley was struggling. Steve was, hey, you're on the next series. You can mentally prepare and get warmed up and do all that kind of stuff. It was like, dude, Riley's out. You got to go in.
Yeah.
And I think he threw a pass on the first play and completed.
He did.
You know what I mean? It's like
I was like, oh, they're going to pan it off here. Like,
Right. So it's like we don't need to get into the whole would they have won if Steve, but he played a big role in the win. He led them to their first score. Why can't we just enjoy that and get into the whole, well, if not for Steve, they don't win. Who cares? They all played a role in the win, and Steve played a very important role. He did his job. This is your job. When you're called upon, you got to answer the bell. And he was like, hey, just like what the beginning of Rocky 3? Ding, ding. You know what I mean? Like you answer the bell, man.
Yeah.
And Steve did that. And then when Riley came back and he did his thing, but no, Steve was an important piece to what they did tonight, just like a lot of other guys. And you got to give him credit for that. That's what your backup quarterback is supposed to do.
Yeah.
When your number's called, we need you to take us down there and get points. And he did that.
Trevor, I'm going to let you lead this one off because you had to go last time. All right. So Riley Leonard, your thoughts on his performance. I'll just let you take it whatever direction you want to go. Thoughts on Riley Leonard?
Yeah, I mean, he found another way to win and get it done tonight. Plain and simple, right? Like he did what he has done most of the season, right? Like he's been able to respond from the mistakes and like 2 big mistakes, right? And he did what was asked of him for the most part, right? I think he saw the defense pretty well tonight, if I'm being 100% honest. Like, the interceptions were bad, but I'm not going to weigh 2 plays outweigh the remainder of the game. Like, I will never be that person. Like, the interceptions were bad, 2 bad reads, and I'll be the first person to say that. But like I said, Notre Dame's passing game tonight was efficient. Jaden Greathouse had 7 receptions on 7 targets. Anise Williams, 5 receptions on 5 targets. Mitchell Evans was targeted 9 times. There's an emphasis to get your players the ball down the field tonight, and I think for the most part, he executed it. The thing that he did tonight that he hasn't shown a lot of this season is just putting trust in his guys one-on-one, giving his players an opportunity to go up and make a play. And good things happened. What do you know? You know what I mean? I think if that was something that was a little bit more consistent throughout the season, we're having different conversations about what Notre Dame's receiving core looks like, right? And we're talking about their effect in missing games. But besides the point, they did it tonight. And that, to me, was a big reason why Notre Dame's offense started to turn things around. It was, first play of the second half, or first drive of the second half, it was more of that, like, let's get back to our identity, let's run the football. But it was their story of being able to push the ball down the field allowed them to score 24 points in the second half, right? Because at the end of the day, Jeremiah Love still had 45 rushing yards. Riley Leonard had 35. Jadarian Price was held to 13. Aeneas had 17, right? So they had to find ways to push the ball down the field vertically. Riley Leonard gave his playmakers an opportunity to go up and make plays on the football. And good things happen when you throw number 1 the football, man. Brian brought it up in a show. It was either before the playoffs started or right after the Indiana game. And we were going through just what Jaden Greathouse has receptions on like 90% of some odd targets with 1 drop on the year. And it came against Northern Illinois. So put trust in his guys. And that was something that we haven't seen much this year. And I'm happy he picked tonight to do it. Or I don't know if we'd be having these conversations, man. That's where I'm at with Riley Leonard.
Sean, thoughts on Leonard?
I think his performance tonight was very much, and it really aligns with the performance of Steve Angeli. It's very much, this is why. Why did you go out and get Riley Leonard for nights like tonight? This is why. Making those throws. Because we've been here, we've had opportunities, but we haven't had a guy that had the guts to make those throws in the moment, to give his guys an opportunity to go ahead and make plays, to put his head down and go and get a first down, to evade a rush or a sack and just get minimal yards to set the drive up to continue to move forward. And then, get down 10. Get down 10 points and have to come from behind. And it's like, that's what Notre Dame can't do. They can't create big plays in the passing game. And the kids watching him on the sideline dejected after that interception in the 4th quarter. His responses, man, the way this kid has responded all year to the challenges and the hurdles and the circumstances that have been placed in front of him. Once again, I'm amazed at his toughness. I'm amazed at his leadership. But most of all, I am absolutely inspired by how his teammates surround him and support him and believe in him. I really do. It was like no one, everybody was like, we're good. Like, you go back and you watch that sideline even after the interception, it was like, we're good. He was taking deep breaths and you could tell he was just really feeling bad. But Forget the numbers, man. When you play that position, there are so many intangibles that have far-reaching impact, even to the other side of the ball. And I think that is why you go out and you get Riley Leonard. You know, we can sit up here and talk about numbers. He needs to pass for this. He needs to pass for that. The kid has shown I can win games. I don't care if it's 90 yards. I don't care if it's 230. I'm going to find a way to win the game. And that right there is one of the key things you ask your quarterback to do. No matter what happens, lead us to victory. And the kid just does an amazing job week after week of doing that for this football team. He really does. And you have to tip your cap. Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's about wins and losses. Last time I checked, you know, the stats, all right, you can talk about it. But ultimately, the young man came here to lead Notre Dame to a national championship. And guess what? He did it. He did it. And now he gets the opportunity to finish the deal. So, hey, whatever he got, it was well worth it. Whatever he got from an NIL standpoint,
Oh God,
well worth it. Can we give him a bonus?
Notre Dame is still making on another deal.
Man,
Go ahead, Brian.
I'll say it. Look, you can't make those mistakes, right? That's my thing. Those two mistakes, you can't make those mistakes. Like the Sale interception, that window is not there. Take the check down to Mitchell. The wheel route that he just locked into Mitchell on the wheel route, you can't do that. You can't make those mistakes. It's not okay to make those mistakes. But if you're gonna make them, how are you gonna respond from it? And that's the big thing. I mean, so like you talk about that drive right after the second interception. And what does he do? They come out the next play. So let me find that pick. So that was their fourth possession of the half. And they were Penn State had just tied it 17-17. Like, you cannot afford on the first play of the next drive to lock in and throw that kind of ball. And if he throws it over top of that guy, it might get picked by the safety who's coming over off the hash. Like, that's just not the read, not the ball. So what does he do on the next drive? Right? He throws that pick. Penn State goes down and scores. So 14-point swing. It was 17-10 Notre Dame lead. Now it's 24-17 Notre Dame deficit. Come out the next play, first drive, they go -4. And so then Riley gets the ball out quick, accurate throw to Jaden Greathouse. He turns it up. You get 11. Riley finds a really nice check down throw to Jaden Greathouse to move the chains on third down. Then he throws another check down to Jeremiah Love to get 6 yards. They run quarterback draw for a 6-yard gain. He runs speed option to get a couple yards. That's where Jeremiah Love leaps. And then he makes the right read, sees that he's got the one-on-one outside, and yeah, the guy falls down. But guys, you saw the play. Riley was throwing it to Jaden Greathouse on that play, no matter what the nickel did. And you know, like, dude, that's how you answer, right? Like, no, you can't make those plays. Those are inexcusable mistakes. Inexcusable mistakes. However, they happen in football. What do you do about it? And for him to come out that next drive and do what he did, guys, is just like, it just shows you who that kid is. It just shows you the heart that he has. And you know, it's just the kid's such a competitor and a battler. And you know, Trev, you said it, efficiency is the name of the game tonight. But I think the best part of what you said is the fact that, and how long have we said this? Like, you got to give your guys chances to make plays. You have to give your guys chances to make plays. And he did that tonight. And another thing he did tonight is, one of the issues I've had with Riley is he has just been unwilling to let go of a go ball, an outside deep route. He just hits everything. He's back shoulders everything. And then that slant and go to Aeneas Williams, the sluggo to Aeneas Williams, he finally let a guy on a go route. I mean, and when he needed it, you know, the ball to Eli Raritan, if he doesn't get held, that's a touchdown. I mean, he threw some great balls tonight down the field, things that people didn't think that he could do, or and honestly was willing to do. Because Trevor, you and I said, like, guys, he is who he is. Well, tonight he did some things that we hadn't seen. We'd seen a throw here, a throw there. And we've seen him, every throw he made tonight, he's basically made at least once at some point in time this season. We've never seen it this much in a football game. And you could see him getting mad at himself, but it wasn't in a way where I felt like he was losing his cool. It was frustration with, I made a mistake. But you just saw how they come out that next series, and look, your team is a reflection upon your head coach, your leaders, and your quarterback. And you want to know why this team can win ugly at times and why this team never quits and this team never gives up. It's because that's how 13 is. That's how Marcus Freeman is, but I also got to give credit to Mike Denbrock because he came out in that second half and was calling a game. He called a phenomenal game in the second half. I mean, he just was. You want to talk about making halftime adjustments? That, my friends, is how you make second half adjustments. But your quarterbacks got executed, and I thought they did some things. We saw some Max Pro stuff in the second half, but I thought he did some things to kind of get the ball out quickly. They started to kind of get outside a little bit more. We started to see the slot fade, the jet sweep. They started to do some things, I thought, in the second half that really had Penn State on its heels. And it was really going after the pressures that Tom Allen had. And then just was an excellent coached game. But your quarterback, your quarterback executed it. And I'd say, Trev, I'm not going to excuse those two throws. I'm not. You can't make those. But I will say this, outside of those two throws, this was the best passing performance Riley Leonard's had all year when you consider the moment and the defense that they were going against. I mean, because he wasn't throwing like wide open throws like he was throwing against Navy and Army where guys are wide open. He had to put some balls on the money.
Oh, yeah.
The scramble play where he's scrambling and they come up and he just drops it right over to Jaden Greathouse for a first down. His awareness, I thought in the first half, his internal clock got sped up a little bit because of how they just couldn't protect him in the first half. But once they protected him, his internal clock slowed down. And guys, that's hard for a quarterback to do. Once your internal clock has been sped up because of the pressure you're getting, it's hard to stay poised when you do have time. And I thought he did a really nice job of that in the second half. And the line did a better job protecting him in the second half. Not the entire time, but for good stretches. And when he got time, he stayed back there. He didn't panic. He didn't get out of the pocket too soon. And, he used his athleticism to scramble. And then that one play that I think he thought he could outrun Abdul Carter to the edge. And I'm thinking, crap, he's going to take a loss here on 2nd and 5. And at the last second, he throws the ball out of bounds past the line of scrimmage. I'm like, dude, Riley's he's got it. He's got it tonight. And that may not seem like a big play to some of you guys, but
oh no, that's a big play. Listen,
it is.
You and I have sat next to each other in the press box for a very long time. How mad would I get when there were past quarterbacks that would do that exact thing, but then just run out of bounds and lose 5 yards? Like, that was my biggest pet peeve. Like, what are you like? It was my biggest pet peeve. And finally, there's a quarterback that just throws it out of bounds and saves, not only, by the way, saves the clock. Number one, I mean, he would have run out of bounds. It would have stopped the clock anyway. But if he gets caught, the clock is running. The clock was important at that point. And 2, he doesn't lose the yardage. That's a really heady play. It's a heady play.
Because you know how heavy-footed Riley is when he runs. Like, you could just tell it's just effort when he runs. And he was giving max effort to try to turn the corner on Abdul Carter and then realize, like, oh, no. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. And then in a split second, he was able to get away with get it away. I think these two quarterbacks are definitely Riley Leonard is a byproduct of the quilt that is this Notre Dame team, but that quilt accentuates who he is. It doesn't hide who he is. I think Penn State hides Drew Allen. And when they put him in position at the end of that game to have to make a play, you saw who Drew Allen is. Because he had to go win it. He couldn't. He had to go win it. And he had mistakes that penalties gave back to Penn State that were game-changing plays. But when he had, and that for me, when Riley Leonard multiple times this year has had the game put in his hands, he's shown in multiple ways, I can find a way to get it done. Drew Aller, tonight I really wasn't shocked that they gave him the opportunity to win the game. I mean, you can sit here and say, but someone would say, well, man, you got 3 timeouts in 38 seconds, coach. Do you think you could have been aggressive and gone and got a field? hindsight is always 2020. I'm glad he got aggressive, but that's Drew Allen throwing late across the middle. That's Drew Allen. That's who he has consistently been. But he's been better protecting the ball this year. But once again, I think that is a byproduct of the offense and Andy Kolenicki really protecting him and kind of keeping him from making the same mistakes. But you have to give him credit.
But Sean, also, I don't disagree with you to a degree, but also, I mean, he's hit that throw a lot. And this is the difference between when you're playing the Big Ten secondaries and when you're playing Notre Dame secondary.
Oh, facts.
And yeah, Drew Aller didn't play well tonight, but like guys, he's not the first big time quarterback. If you view him as one that's had a really rough night against the Notre Dame secondary and Al Golden's defense, right?
True.
I mean, C.J. Stroud had some rough nights, some rough games. I mean, Caleb Williams, he played a whole lot better than Caleb Williams played last year, and he was number one overall pick. I'm sorry, Vince, I hate to bring that up. It's a little. But this is what I mean. We'll get into the defensive part, but at the end of the day, Sean, whatever the reason, because Riley Leonard's going to pretty darn good defense too.
Yeah, he was.
Notre Dame's quarterback got into this battle, and he did it against Curtis Rourke. He did it against Gunnar Stockton, and he did it tonight. Where, when he needed to make plays, he made plays, and he overcame his own mistakes and made some absolute. I mean, last week they needed Riley to win the game running the football. Well, Penn State was not going to let Riley Leonard beat them running the football. Riley had 35 yards on 18 carries. Riley needed to beat him with his arm tonight, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
And his pass catchers had to step up and make – because like you said, okay, well, he did a great job of giving those guys contested throws. Yeah, exactly. And, but they got to make the plays, and they made the plays. And I think this is great for Notre Dame going into the game on the 20th because, hey, man, now God, bro, give me a shot.
Right.
Throw me the ball. I don't need to be open. Just put it out there. Let me go make a play. Mitchell did that. Jordan Faison did that. Jaden Greathouse did that multiple times. I hope that this can be that game that maybe it's like, hey, you needed this. But in the end of the day, in a night where last week the Notre Dame offense was not feeling it, guys. They were not feeling it. And the defense and special teams had to pick them up. Tonight, the defense had some rough moments. They did. They had some great moments too, and we'll get to that. But they had some rough moments. And the offense said, hey, fellas, we got you. We got you. And that's what championship teams look like. And the offense did its part tonight.
All right, real quick, fellas, let's go around the horn. Let's do some game balls for the offense before we move to the defense. Trevor, you're leading off, brother.
Yeah, my offensive game ball is going to go to Jaden Greathouse. Needed a pass catcher to step up, and he absolutely cooked tonight, especially when given the opportunity. I already brought it up, but obviously the thing that's going to be highlighted is his route running, breaking the ankles off the line of scrimmage, little shimmy in open space, takes it into the end zone to tie the game 24-24. But again, his best catch of the night was that back shoulder. Contested, given the opportunity one-on-one. You needed a pass catcher to break out, and I think – did Jordan Faison go over 100 at some point this season? Because if not, Jaden Greathouse was the first one to go over 100 this year.
I thought he did. Let me go look.
Because I don't know the last time a Notre Dame wide receiver went over 100 yards, and it was the semifinals of the college football playoff. I know for sure. So there's going to be a time to do it.
Yeah, good call. Sean, who you got?
Look, the obvious are the two guys that came up with big plays in the fourth quarter. But I said this in my big overall thoughts about the game. I just thought when they came out for the second half and that touchdown run, Jeremiah Love being on the field meant something. Just the fact that he gave it a go, the fact that he gave everything that he had, I think the touchdown run exemplified the never die, don't give up effort for Notre Dame tonight. And I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. I thought he was inspirational tonight. I think it meant something for him to be on the field. And I think after he scored that touchdown, you could just feel the energy in the stadium through the TV. Like, yo, and we expected, most of us probably expected Notre Dame's defense to then lock it down. But, Notre Dame had the answer, and that's what they did. I think he was the lead blocker on Riley's touchdown run. as well.
Yep.
So
Yep.
called
Called that one. I go loves lead blocking here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, he was, I guess the one rule he told ESPN, the one rule they gave me is don't hurdle. I'm like, on the last drop, there he is.
Whoop.
Like, you know what? I know you told me not to, but we need it.
Dude, that kid was
we gotta have it.
That kid was not tackling Jeremiah Love low either. That's the
No.
thing. He was aiming for his chest. And Jeremiah Love still jumped over him with room to spare.
He did not go low. He did not go low.
No.
He would.
Like, that wasn't even a low tackle.
That was ridiculous.
That boy has some ups, man. Holy cow, can he jump? Dang.
And that's at 70-75%. Like, the kid he's incredible. So I'm giving him a game ball because I think it just really meant a lot that he was on the field tonight.
Brian, who you got?
Trevor, I thought Faison went over 100 against Indiana, but he had 89. So he had 7 for 89. So he did not go over 100. So this was the first 100-yard performance of the season, and he did it.
Good time to do it.
In the college football semifinals. He also had clutch plays, guys. I think 3 of his catches went for first downs on third down. 3 of them were third down conversions. That's a big part of it too. Is not just making plays, but also making plays in pretty clutch situations. I give it to Jaden Greathouse. They needed somebody to step up and be a dude tonight, and he was that. He was that. I mean, you could give it to Riley, you could give it to Jeremiah Love. I got no problem with that one, Sean. I thought Mitchell Evans had one of his better games.
Go through all
season.
of them now. Let me give someone.
There's my bad, bro.
Just going off the roster.
I mean, it's just like, dude, leave me something. Give me something. Leave me something on the bone, brother. There's a lot of different guys you could have given it to, but I think Jaden Greathouse is Notre Dame's best football player tonight on offense.
So I'm going a little off the beaten path, but at the same time, I think this young man stepped up big time in a game where, look, it's a big time opportunity to step up, and it's Aeneas Williams. They don't do what they did on offense without Aeneas Williams. I mean, you splitting him out wide and letting him, run some routes, and they hadn't done that all season. You know what I mean? And they also hadn't really. There were a couple he was in on third down, and they would just keep him in on the next first down, after they got it. But tonight, he was actually a featured back in the offense for that series. You know what I mean? So because of Jeremiah Love and some of his limitations, okay, because they said that he was kind of on a pitch count, which I totally understand. Aeneas Williams stepped up, man. He stepped up big time in this game. And I was very impressed with a true freshman. Look, he's been doing it all year. He's been doing everything that they've asked him to do all year long, but they expanded his role in the biggest game of the year, and he rewarded them for it. It was an absolute dime that Riley threw on that one, sluggo, but I mean, he still had to catch it.
Great route.
It was a great route, man. He practically turned the linebacker around. I mean, it was a great route, and that's a great mismatch for this Notre Dame offense too. If they can get linebackers on Aeneas Williams split out wide, even next week against whoever they play, that's a mismatch that you need to take care. So I was very impressed with Aeneas today. So he gets my offensive game ball.
Before we move on to defense, can I just say, and I don't know if I said it yet, but Charles Jagasaw was a difference maker when they put him in a football game.
No doubt.
Did you guys see the second run of this? I think it was the second run, second half, where he took the D tackle and drove him about 9 yards to the left and then put him on the ground.
That was 13 games of pent up aggression right there in
was.
one half of football.
That's what a fresh player in game 15 looks like. Legitimately. That's
a 330-pound athletic fresh player who now will be hopefully a factor in here in about 11 days.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, hey, that's going to do it for our offensive look at the game. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell, share with your family and friends. Of course, jump on the boards, boards.irishbreakdown.com. We still got to talk about defense. We still got to do some super chats, but make sure you jump on the board. There's going to be all kinds of good stuff up on the board over the next 10 days. I can guarantee you that there's going to be some good discussion. There's going to be some good breakdowns. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. Money well spent. So check out the boards, boards.irishbreakdown.com.
Also want to thank everybody that came out to the deal today. Angela was counting. We had over 50 people show up today.
Wow.
At the get together. So that was a ton of fun. And the place we went to had some phenomenal wings. So if you didn't come, you missed out, man. phenomenal wings. So just wanted to say thanks to everybody that was able to come out tonight. Sean had a couple guys from Chicago were there tonight. One guy's office is right by your church. So Andre Bennett. Yeah. So it's great group of people out there tonight. So wanted to thank everybody for that came out tonight.
All right, boys, let's talk a little bit of defense in this game. Little bit of a roller coaster ride for the defense, I would say, overall. Brian, I'll let you lead this one off. Overall thoughts on the defense.
They battled. I mean, it wasn't a great night. I think that we saw Al Golden go toe-to-toe with a guy we've been talking about for a couple of years now as an offensive mind. Sometimes Andy Kotelnicki got him. Sometimes he just went after him. I was frustrated by at times Notre Dame's inability to adjust to the stretch. They just could not handle the quick outside stuff. I think Penn State knew we can't run at Notre Dame. We're not just going to do what Georgia did and just try to run right at Notre Dame. So they ran quick toss. They ran speed option. They ran jet sweeps. They ran stretch plays. And Notre Dame early had a tough time handling it. Second half, we were chatting about this in our group text. Like, they did a much better job second half playing it. And then Penn State made some adjustments, got back to them. Andy Kotelnicki called a great game. And then Al Golden was forced to counterpunch a lot. And at times he did. At times they got him. That's what happens when you go against really good football coaches, guys, is they're going to have you sometimes. You got to come back and answer. And I thought the ability of this coaching staff to sort of, okay, they found something. We got to adjust it. We got to make some changes. We got to get some stops. And you come out of the second half and you go 3 and out on your first drive, second half. They hit a big play on a crosser on the first play of the second drive. And then after that, 3 and out. I thought was huge to allow the offense to kind of get going. So, when you can have a night where, I would say, Xavier Watts didn't have the best game of his career. The defensive line had some rough moments tonight. And yet you still went out and made the plays you needed to make to win the game. Guys, you're not going to bring your A game every week. You're just not. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to get beat. Sometimes the other coach is going to have a pretty good game plan on you. But can you make the adjustments? Can you get your players in position to make plays? Can you step up and make the plays when you need them to? And you had to do that also with an officiating crew that was on some BS in this game, not calling blatant holds. They're on that one TD drive, just blatant hold against Christian Gray. That pass interference penalty in the end zone was not the first one against Christian. I mean, he grabbed the guy. That's holding. But the one on the Don Schuler, total bull crap, terrible call. Penn State was holding the mess out of Notre Dame tonight. No calls. And Angela told me at one point in time, can I share this? She said at one point in time, Marcus Freeman looked at his defense and said, it's us versus Penn State and them, talking about the refs. And he goes, we got this.
Love that.
Out and made a stop. And, it was one of those days where, guys, you're just not going to feel it every night. And we talked about this, Trev, during the week. Like, guys, this is a talented Penn State offense, and they've been as hot in the last month as they've been in a long time. And, they made some big plays in this game, but you still held them to 339 yards in this game. And it was a heck of a performance by this Notre Dame defense to make the plays when they needed to. And, I thought there was different guys stepping up at different times. I know we'll get into when you get to position groups. I won't go through that now. But, look, it's the mark of a great unit that when you don't have it, when you're not on top of your game, that you can still step up and make the game-winning plays when you need to. And at this stage of the game, it's not about got to hold them under this number of yards and this number of points. It's about make game-winning plays. And tonight, this defense made game-winning plays when they needed to. And even things like, holding them to field goals, coming up with stops to give your offense a chance to get back. You're not going to face too many guys that are going to throw as much at you as Andy Kotelnicki throws at you. Times he got Al Golden, and at times Al Golden got him. At the end of the day, when the game was on the line, it was Al Golden. It was in his unit that were making the plays to win the football game. And it was a heck of a night. That was one of my favorite punch counter punch parts of the night. I mean, just the battle between Al Golden and Andy Kotelnicki. Trevor, I can't wait to go back and watch this film again. Because, dude, that is going to be fun to watch. Just like, oh, man, what a great call by Kolnick, and then to watch the adjustments that Al Golden and his staff make. And you could see, guys, I don't know if you could see if you're watching TV, because I kept looking up. Al Golden was about as animated as I've seen him, like intense as I've seen him after stops when they were making big stops. And we didn't talk about it a whole lot this week, but bro just beat his alma mater tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Like that had to feel a certain way.
For sure.
This and the ability of Mike Mickens to get a guy that's had a rough time to step up and be locked in and make the plays when you need to make just continues to impress me. Don Schuler missed a chunk of the game. He wasn't right tonight. And yet Penn State still completed 0 passes to their wide receivers.
Yeah.
0 passes to their wide receivers. That's a heck of a performance, guys. Heck of a performance.
Before I throw it to you, Sean, you brought up Marcus Freeman and kind of how he was like, hey, it's us against Penn State and them. I just saw a quote come over, and I just wanted to throw it out there. Riley Leonard in the postgame press conference said that Marcus Freeman's quote at halftime was, "History is written by conquerors, and we're holding the pen." That is some serious,
but you know what, Vince?
Put that on a wall.
Does that not, like, you watch how the team came out after halftime, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You knew something was done. Part of it's
100%.
adjustments and all that, but you knew there was something said in that locker room.
Yep.
Because that team came out in the second half with a different energy level, a different intensity. And I had a friend of mine freaking out. He's like, I think this flu thing was legit, man, because they look dead. I'm like, well, okay, apparently they got over it at halftime.
Yeah.
And apparently the flu
right?
bug left the team at halftime, because the second half that's the Notre Dame team that we know.
Right.
That's the Notre Dame football team that we know.
Yep. Yep.
And it was intense.
Yep. And I know Manti Te'o talked about the pen thing, and he gave a pen to Marcus Freeman and all that, but like it's I'm sorry, but it's reminiscent of like Newt Rockne pulling out the speech when you need it. Right.
Yep.
He gave that speech back in week 2 of the season against Northern Illinois. That's exactly right. And now you wait until January 10th to use that at halftime. Like, it's the perfect moment. It's the perfect moment to give that speech to this team. So I just wanted to throw that out there as I saw it. But Sean, your thoughts on the defense as a whole?
Yeah, I think the second to last Penn State series just kind of like encapsulates everything Brian just said, right? They come out, Notre Dame needs to get the stop. They just tied it up. Singleton, I think it was Singleton that got the false start. They go back, and then the next play, Jack Kaiser's a little bit late. Like Notre Dame was late to the perimeter most of the night against the running backs of Penn State. And they get, 11 yards back. And then the next thing you know is second and short, but they step up against the run the very next play, and they get it to 3rd and 3. And it was almost like, you're going to have to find somebody else. Because 44 is not getting this ball. That's the last person that's getting this ball. Yeah, you find somebody else. And I actually, in that situation, Penn State had caught Notre Dame in those situations, being aggressive, saying, no, we're going to run it here. And if we could get it to 3rd and 1, then we'll go for it on 4th down. And I thought maybe they would try to catch him on guard with the run there. And then the rally to Drew Allen, pressure him and rally as he tried to escape to the left. That right there, I think Notre Dame was better situationally tonight than Penn State. And I think that matters, especially from a defensive standpoint. From a situational standpoint, when they had to make plays or they had to make stops early in the game to keep the game close, they were able to do so. And like, hey, dude, it's fair to say Riley Leonard gave them 10 points just off his turnovers. And the defense gave them 14. I mean, and we're talking about a defense that did not play well. Like, they did not play their best. And the truth, they needed help. Penn State needed help from turnovers to even get to 24. That's just how good this defense is. It, like you said, Brian, you said it well, man. It was a heavyweight matchup with coordinators tonight. It really was. It was a battle on both sides of the ball. It was beautiful to watch. It was beautiful to watch. They had an answer for Al Golden in the pressure early, and Al Golden had to respond and adjust, and he did. And then down the stretch, just situationally, I think offensively and especially defensively, we're talking about the defense now. Notre Dame was just better in the clutch situations down the stretch to get the plays that they needed to get done. So,
yeah, man. I mean, look, the defense overall had it was an up and down night. There were moments where it was kind of shades of USC. They were doing things that were uncharacteristic. You could tell that they were a little tired, whether that was, I mean, the amount of rumors that float around, clickbait stuff that floats around before the game now is crazy. Food poisoning, the flu, they're tired, they're on yachts.
Yeah.
Man.
Notre Dame's entire team had the flu. Penn State's entire team had food poisoning.
Don't forget, Drew Aller was on a yacht this
Yeah.
afternoon, supposedly.
Yeah.
Okay, sure he was.
Yeah.
People suck.
So
It's just unbelievable.
But all those things aside, there were moments where the team looked tired, right? And whether that's because of the short week of preparation, coming off of a really physical game against Georgia, right, in the Sugar Bowl. There were things like the defensive line was doing that was just uncharacteristic of teams that are at full energy, at full health, whatever, right? Things that they were not doing against Georgia. We'll call it that way. The tackling tonight was fine at times, it was not like tackling performance. If I had to grade it overall, I'd give it like a B-, C+, like a lot of times people weren't bringing their feet. And then other times it's just Tyler Warren is 6'6", 250. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you got to tip your cap to a really darn good football player, but overall, they did what they needed to. The secondary was on lockdown, and Leonard Moore looked bored, if I'm being 100% honest. He had one tackle tonight. He did.
Did they throw at him once? Once.
yes,
One time.
And he almost picked it off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he almost picked it off.
He almost picked it off. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I say that to kind of be funny, but it's also not hyperbolic. Like, he legitimately at times looked bored. Doing his job still, right? But it was just they stayed away from his side of the field. And once again, a team found out that you test 29 and he's going to end up making a play.
You get burned.
Right. I mean, their wide receiving core as a whole ended the night with 0 receptions for 0 yards and 0 touchdowns and 0 yards after the catch. Technically, it's -3 yards after the catch in the box score because one of their wide receivers caught a ball and ran 3 yards backwards on the final play, which is kind of unfair. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, kind of tough. But overall, the defense look, we are in a good spot with Notre Dame's defense if we're talking about how this wasn't a good Notre Dame performance and they held Penn State scoreless for 2 quarters. Like the offense had 2 turnovers, like I should have at least had 1 more interception on the board as well, right? So it's all those things combined. They did enough to win. They got key stops when they needed to. It was almost like the roles were reversed, right? Like against Georgia, the offense in the moments that they had to did what they needed to. They responded, right? And in this game tonight, the defense was like, okay, we've kind of been getting dog walked at times here. We've been out physical at times tonight, but in this moment right now, we have to step up. We have to get a stop, and they did it. Right. So I tip my cap to the gentlemen out there playing defense because it was a grind. It was another physical football game. So defense for me.
Yes, it was.
Can I give a stat real quick, guys?
Sure.
At halftime of this game, Penn State had 26 carries for 141 yards rushing against Notre Dame. At the end of the third quarter against Notre Dame, they had – let me pull this stat up here real quick. So again, 26 for 141 at halftime. At the end of the second quarter, or at the end of the third quarter, they had 31 carries for 138 yards. Like that was when Notre Dame made their comeback. They held them to -3 yards rushing in that second half. Now Penn State got some in the fourth quarter and had a couple runs, and they ended up giving up over 200 in the game on 42 carries. But that key coming out of second half and having an answer for the stretch stuff is what forced those early punts and allowed the offense to get back in the game. And Trev, that's what you talked about is when you needed to step up, you stepped up. When you needed to make those adjustments, you made those adjustments.
And once again, one side of the ball was picking up the other side of the ball. And again, in the past, we hadn't seen that. It's either one playing or the other's playing, but not a lot of times did you get both doing, helping each other out and stepping up for each other. So that was big as well. Let's get into some position stuff. Sean, I'm going to let you lead off on this one. Defensive line, the big boys up front, at times felt small, felt like they were getting bullied in the first half. But
it didn't feel like it, Vince. They were.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's that too. Sean, your thoughts on the defensive front?
Definitely early struggles. They battled. They really did, and they were key in that third quarter when they kind of reestablished some order on the defensive front. And Howard Cross, you saw him limping off in the middle of the first half, and you're like, oh boy, we can't lose someone else. He comes back and he ends up finishing the game. It's just the heart that this team plays with. They probably exceeded what they had in the tank. They found some fumes from somewhere in that second half to kind of like we said earlier, they were being dominated, but they just brought things back to even. They're like, okay, let's just make it even on this front and then see if we can make some plays. And I thought they did a really good job. I thought they did a good job, like I said, in that second to last series in situations, applying pressure with the rush. And Brian pointed it out. There were some holdings, like guys trying to come around the end and being held and no flags were thrown. It was just, like Marcus Freeman said, it's us against them, Penn State and them. And Notre Dame was still able to overcome that. But I think the key for the D-line is to answer the bell in that Russian attack of Penn State and shutting it down. And they did a really good job when they were needed the most. And then when it got into the fourth quarter and both teams are really putting points on the board, that defensive line, it's like the second to last series, after the big game to get down to like 2nd and 4, they come with back-to-back plays, holding them 1 yard. So that D-line stepped up. They stepped up.
Trevor.
Yeah, man. I mean, for me, a couple players stood out across the defensive line. I touched on it earlier when we were talking about the overall play of the defense. I think out of all the units, the defensive line, I think, looked the most tired, especially in the first half. They were doing some things that were very uncharacteristic. They weren't getting a good push. A lot of times, literally, it looked like their main goal was like driving their shoulder into the interior offensive lineman. No attempt to try to. It is what it is. But second half adjustments were huge. They had trouble setting the edge in the first half, and I thought R.J. Oben showed up in a big way in the run game in the second half, did a much better job at setting the edge. Interior, it was decent. Like Gabe Rubio kind of had flashy plays like he did against Georgia. He had some other like head-scratching moments throughout the game, honestly. And then Howard Cross, I think Howard Cross is a guy that is willing himself, gearing up to play in his 16th game, if I'm just being 100% honest. Like kid's banged up. He's doing everything that he can to continue to play, and that I will always tip my cap to that. But you could tell, right? Josh Burnham had some nice plays tonight. He did, again, off the edge, helping set the edge in the run game. But defensive line as a whole, I think out of any position group on this football team, I think they are looking forward to the most that they now have an 11-day break until the national championship game on the 20th. So for me, it's just ice up, get rest, get as healthy as you possibly can, because regardless of whatever team you play, whether it be Ohio State or Texas, their offensive lines are playing at a pretty decent level right now, and you're going to have your work cut out for you again. But overall tonight, second half adjustments were huge. And another tip of the cap to Al Washington, because he's getting every last bit out of this group of guys. So that's where I'm at with the D-line.
Brian, thoughts on the big boys?
I thought R.J. Oben was a very unsung hero for the Notre Dames in the third quarter. His ability to kind of come off and like they were getting a really good stretch on the edge early in the game. Like they were taking those Notre Dame ends and they were stretching them outside, and that was kind of one of the reasons they were able to get that real good stretch and then find those cutback lanes. I thought RJ in the second half was doing a great job of, yeah, you're stretching me, but I'm going to stretch you backwards and force the inside cut. And I thought the linebackers were a lot more aggressive, and that played a factor, a big role in why Penn State was so unsuccessful running the ball in the third quarter. I thought RJ did some really nice things in the second half of that game. The pass rush from the front wasn't great. You did have that one really good pass rush. I think it was Jalen Sneed on a pressure late in the game, but look, I think you guys nailed it. This team, this group was worn out. They need to having an 11-day break between the next game is going to be huge for them. They're going to get a couple days if they're just going to live in the ice bath. And but they competed their butts off. I think what you said about Gabriel Rubio, Trev, is true for all the defensive linemen. There's some plays you're just like, oh, what was that? And some plays they made plays, but they competed their butts off. And you kind of, I don't want to brush through the Josh Burnham made some plays tonight, because that tackle for loss he made on the backside on that goal line situation, guys, it was first and goal. It was second and goal from the 1 yard line. And he made a 2-yard tackle for loss that put Penn State into a throwing situation, and the guy was open. He dropped the ball. If he doesn't make that play, it's 7-0 at that point in time.
The game's
and
different. Game's
that
way different.
Turned out to be a huge play in this game. And he didn't put up phenomenal numbers on this night. None of the defensive linemen really put up great numbers tonight, but that was a huge play by Josh to come backside or from the backside and make that play. Just a monster play. Because again, it was second and goal from the 1 yard line on that play. And that put him back in third and goal from the 3. And they called a penalty. And I think James Franklin and decided to kick a field goal from his own 3 yard from the 3 yard line instead of trying to punch it in. So you literally kicked an extra point for 3 points instead of trying to get a touchdown. And your offense was, I mean, that was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That was like a 14 play drive. And Notre Dame was gassed. And that's just like Marcus Freeman would have gone for it there, I think. I really do believe that. He would have gone for 6 there.
I actually didn't mind the call, because I think at that point in the game, I think points were at a premium.
Yeah. No,
I think that's where I'm at.
When you have a team on its heels, like it depends on the situation, Vince. And I don't think that I'm not pushing back like, oh, Vince, you don't tell what you're talking about. I understand where you're coming from. I just feel like sometimes you got to read the other team on a drive, and you were leaning on Notre Dame. And I think that Josh Burnham stop kind of
absolutely that I completely agree with. I don't know that he was confident he could get 3 yards because of that play.
But I think Marcus Freeman would have gone for it there. Because, again, it's about trusting your defense. You got him at the 3 yard line. Your defense has been pinning its ears back and doing a pretty good job so far. But, I mean, they battled. They didn't play great. They battled. They need rest. They need to recover and get healthy. Now, you got to get as fresh as you can between now and the 20th when they play for the national championship.
Had to throw that in there. I love that. Let's talk back 7, just for fun, just to mix it up. Everybody likes to talk front 7. We're going to talk back 7 on this round. And Brian, I'll start off with you. So we're talking linebackers and secondary, kind of as a whole. Your thoughts on that group?
I think you're going to say this about every unit except the corners, for the most part. Is some really good and some really not good. I thought at times that in the first half, the linebackers were not being aggressive, taking on blocks on the stretch plays. Part of it was the D-line, but they were getting up to the second level. I think one of their touchdown drives, Jaden Osbury had like the worst series of his career. And he stepped up later and made some plays. He had a great coverage on a tight end on a play, and but he just there was just a lack of aggressiveness at times from the linebackers, and at times they were flying downhill. I mean, at times Drake Ball was playing like a crazy person, and at times he was a little bit like, I'm not sure of what they're doing. And part of that's just a great game plan by Andy Kolodnicki. I thought their coverage at times was, you need to be better there, and at times was great. I mean, Jack Kaiser getting up underneath that wheel route on the interception was a great play by him. And Sean, you talk about Jack taking that bad angle, but I think that play also showed Notre Dame's speed at linebacker, because against every other team that I've seen Penn State play this year, he's getting the sideline on that play. And yeah, they got 10 yards, but he held them short, and Notre Dame ended up forcing a punt on that. Against 99% of the other linebacker rooms in the country, that's a first down, because Nick Singleton's outrunning that guy to the sideline. We saw that several times tonight. On that Drew Aller scramble, I forget which linebacker it was, but just kind of came out of nowhere, and you're just like, you saw it, and they ramped up their speed. Jalen Sneed had a great pressure late in the game, as I mentioned. in that game. I thought Jalen made some really clutch plays today. He played hard, played his butt off. Drake had 8 tackles. Jack had 10 tackles. Kingston made his presence felt tonight, which was huge. Him and was it him and I forget, I have it marked down here. He made a sack with I forget which player, but they had he was part of a sack of a real.
I think it was Rod
him and
Hurd.
Rod Hurd. Yeah, I got it right there. 27-2. Rod Hurd had to play, a lot more tonight than we expected to see him play because Don Schuler wasn't feeling it tonight, and he made some plays, guys. I mean, he was around. He took one bad angle early on that early screen to Nick Singleton. I thought Rod took a bit of a bad angle to that. Maybe it was the Tyler Warren screen. By the way, Andy Koldenicki's screen game is on point.
Man,
I mean, it is on point. But he took a bad angle, but I thought Rod, stepped up and made some plays. I mean, I thought at times Xavier was out of position a couple times. I thought in coverage and in the run game, but at times he made some plays. I mean, it was really just, with the exception of the corners, I really think you can say this about every unit. There were times they made some money plays in this game. At times they weren't at their best, but they competed their butts off, and different units attributed to different parts of the game and different parts of the win. And that's what a great unit is. And as we talked about before, that's something that Marcus Freeman talks about a lot of the times. I mean, it talked about Jaden Osbury having a really rough series. And then he comes out on that second defensive series and they run a bootleg, and RJ Open does a nice job of getting outside, forcing Drew to step up. And then he's got perfect position on Tyler Warren, and Drew Aller can't get it to him, so he scrambles, gets no yards. There was another play later in the game where Drew Aller was scrambling and he kept stretching. He was waiting on Drake Bowen to turn Tyler Warren loose and come to him, and Drake showed great discipline. And Drake made that mistake last week, but this time he's like, nope, I got 44. And then he got outside, and then they got to him and stopped him short of the first down. It was just like plays like that when they needed to, they stepped up. No unit outside the corners, I thought, played great tonight. And Christian Gray had the one bad hold, and I wish he wouldn't have done that because he recovered and played the route great, picked it off. Outside of that, the 2 corners were elite tonight. Everybody else was like some really good moments and some really not very good moments. And sometimes it was like, I don't know what that 5'11" guy is supposed to do against Tyler Warren. I mean, sometimes you got to tip your cap to the other OC and the other team and say, number 10's really flipping good. That's why you recruited him like crazy in the 2021 class. You know what I mean? Like, number 44 is special. He is. Number 13's a good back. Sometimes 15's going to throw some dimes. And, man, I got to tell you, but they just kept battling. And I think that whole unit played great. But, guys, Christian Gray and Leonard Moore, elite. They're elite. I mean, Christian has that one mistake. They tried to go at him a couple other times, couldn't get to him. He had forced a couple throwaways. But, that play he made at the end of the game, it was great coverage. It's exactly how you teach it. Exactly how you teach it. And to get his hands under the ball, not try to catch it this way, but to get his hands under the ball was such great awareness. Great awareness.
That way too long, by the way.
Yeah.
Way too long. And
that was a no-brainer.
His description when he came back, or his explanation, was way too long for my liking. Like, he just said, hey, upon further review, play stands. Like, he goes into this explanation. I'm like, oh no, they're gonna overturn this thing. Anyway, sorry, continue.
No, I said, I think the corners tonight were special, guys.
Yeah,
they
no
were.
doubt.
Christian Gray, that young man's resiliency. Yeah, I mean, he's had some ups and downs this year, but man, when he's on his game, and I thought outside of that one hold, I thought he was on his game tonight. He was really good tonight. I don't know if you guys could see it on the TV copy, but like, there weren't a lot of places for him to throw the football tonight down. The receivers did not have a catch a pass because Drew Aller wasn't looking at them. They were just locked down. I mean, and Jordan Clark steps up and makes a really nice pass breakup on an early drive. I mean,
No doubt.
Again, you had different guys stepping up and making plays, guys, and that's what great units do. Is even when you don't have it, Jordan Clark makes play here, Rod Hurd makes play there, Jalen Sneed makes play here, Kingston over here. I mean, and your dudes weren't dudes necessarily tonight the way they normally are. Xavier played okay. He didn't play a normal Xavier Watts game. Howard Cross was battling, but man, and you other dudes step up. And that's what I love about this football team, guys. It's just somebody else is going to – if somebody's having a rough night, somebody else is going to step up. Josh Burnham with one of the biggest plays in the game. And I love that about this defense. But the corners tonight were special, guys. That to me was probably the best unit on the football field tonight for either team, either side of the ball. They were elite tonight, tackling and coverage.
Sean, thoughts on the back seven?
Oh, like you said, corners exceptional tonight. You don't need to stay on that, but I just think they weren't as focused. And I think, Brian, you said something. I think Andy Kotelnicki did a lot of things from formation and motion standpoint that did have Drake Bowen a little confused, even with the communication of what was going on. And I think it was, I don't know if it was the same drive or the drive before, the play that you've spoken about twice, the dime that Drew Allen threw, where they got him coming across in zone coverage. And Jack really should have dropped underneath that a little bit better, and he turned late. Now go to the interception, because it was very similar, and Jack just took off. Like, if you watch the play, Jack just takes off and turns his back full speed to catch up and ends up getting into the play and making the interception. And so I think that was the type of night it was. Like, it was a tough night, but they didn't hang their heads. Like, they just went to the next play. Like their coach tells them all the time, go to the next play, make a play. That's exactly what they did. And so that's the type of effort you get situationally. You talked about the stretch game and how they got it going. R.J. Oben, there was a couple other plays where Jalen Sneed just attacked upfield, and got penetration, and it caused the running back to have to cut back to the pursuit. So even in the midst of that, man, they really only gave up 14 points. That wasn't given, through a turnover. So not their best game, but this team just finds a way to win. Whether it's defense, they made the necessary stop, in the fourth quarter towards the end of the game. And then, Penn State got the ball back with minimal time on the clocks, but they still made the stop. So when they need to make stops, they made stops on the last two series for Penn State and sealed the game. And that's what matters the most.
Trevor, some final thoughts on the back seven?
Yeah, I mean, you guys nailed it. Corners are elite. I said it before, I think the tackling was a little sloppy tonight. Man, I think that was the second sign outside of the defensive line. The tackling being a little sloppy, I think, was the second biggest sign of fatigue for this defense, if I'm being honest. This is a sure tackling defense. It is. And the two games where they had some issues with it was tonight and USC. And I think we've learned that when we evaluated the Southern California game, we attribute a lot of it to being tired. It is what it is, right? You have now 10 days technically to get right before you play in the national championship. So, for me, it's get rest, get healthy. Xavier Watts, I'm not concerned about his play. He didn't have his best game, but he just played in his 15th game. He's not going to get an A+ 15 straight weeks. You know what I mean? That's who he is. And him not having his A+ game still ended up him being the second leading tackler on the team tonight. You know what I mean? Like that's just – I guess he didn't play his A+ game because he didn't get a pick. Like, I don't even know what to say about this dude anymore, man. He's a good player. I think that Rod Hurd stepped up in a big way tonight. I'm excited to go back and watch him on the All-22 because I think he did some pretty good things in coverage when he was matched up on Tyler Warren. He came up with a sack tonight, so that to me was solid. So I'm excited to go back and watch him play. But overall, doesn't surprise me when you look at the stat sheet. Jack Kaiser led the team in tackles. He felt like he was everywhere tonight. So for me, it's one, the performance was good enough to get Notre Dame's second New Year's Six bowl win, right?
In a week.
Second one of my lifetime, and I've witnessed them all in 7 days. You know what I mean?
It only took 30 years. It's all good.
Think about it. From 1994 to 2024, Notre Dame got 0 New Year's Six wins, and in the last week they've gotten 2.
And in 2025 they have 2, and it's the 10th of and it's the 10th day of that year. By the way, so
I mean, it's like I said, things have to be cleaned up, right? But I feel like the common theme is Notre Dame has yet to play its best football. There's things that they have to get cleaned up. I don't know if they're going to keep continuing to win games like this. And here they are, one game out from winning a national championship. So you know what, man? What do I know? I've watched them win a New Year's Six Bowl passing for 90 yards. I watched them win a New Year's Six Bowl losing the turnover margin and losing the ground game battle. And they got sacked more times. This team is just, they're fun to watch, man. They find ways to win football games, back seven included, right? So for me, I'm, happy with where they're at, all things considered. Improvements do have to be made before, clean up things, right? Like tackling has to be better no matter who you face in the national championship. So it'll get cleaned up.
Hey, it's game ball time for the defense, boys. Let's go game balls. Sean, lead us off. Game balls.
Christian Gray, man. I got to go with Christian Gray. That last play, that last interception was huge.
Yep.
That was huge, right? Because it wasn't an easy interception. And like Brian said, to have the wherewithal to get his arms underneath the ball and then to hold on to it as he rolled. Big play. Absolutely amazing play from that young man. And the early PI, but when it needed it, he stepped up and made a play just like he did against USC. So I'm going to go ahead and go with CG.
Love it. Brian.
Same. I mean,
Short
it's not even.
it's
it's not even sentimental.
Yeah.
He played great football, and he, with the game tied, he made the interception that gave the offense the ball to win it. That's winning time, guys.
Yep.
So yeah, Christian Gray.
Trevor.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. And just to not reiterate, my 2 is Luke Talich because that hit on punt was nasty.
Freaking great.
But yeah, man. I mean, Christian Gray for a player that's been scrutinized by a lot of Notre Dame fans just for what some might call inconsistent play throughout the playoffs and giving up some big plays here. And I think it's a little bit poetic that he ended the game, and gave Notre Dame the ball back. But like I said, my close second is Luke Talich for absolutely decimating that kid on kickoff or on punt return.
I just like to be different. So I'm going to go with Jack Kaiser. He made some mistakes in this game. I get it. I'm just glad that his
Everyone
final
did.
Right. Totally. He led the team in tackles. So I'm going to give him credit for that. And I'm
And
very
that was
happy.
a freaking pick, Vince. That was a pick.
It was a great pick. I mean, he went up
Yeah.
and got that ball, by the way. And I'm very happy that he doesn't get stuck on 69 games played and he gets a 70th. So it's just a nice even number. So a big fan of that as well. So Jack Kaiser gets my game ball. So, all right. Go ahead.
Hold on. Were you going to go to Super Chats next?
And special teams was going to be a part
I
of that.
want to say something. Did you all talk about Vince's prediction? You guys talk about Vince's prediction?
No.
No.
So
I'm a little nervous now.
In the middle of the game, actually, this is in the fourth quarter.
That's true. I know what
Vince
you're saying.
texts us. This is probably middle of the fourth quarter. Vince texts in a group text, Jeter for the W. This is the middle of the fourth quarter. And I was like, okay. When he made it, I was like, Vince, great call. I don't even think he realized that he did it. But yeah, he was like, because it was like, we was talking about when the offense had scored.
Mm-hmm.
It was before, I think, even before Riley's interception. We were talking about if the defense can get a stop.
Yep.
And Vince texts, he's like, Jeter for the win. So I was like, all right, kicker
Kid's playing
dad.
with a lot of confidence right now.
I send this cat down to New Orleans last week, Sean, and he's covering the game. And I tell him I want some pregame, tell me how you saw. First thing he says is like, tell me how Jeter's kicking. I'm like, bro, I don't care about all that. I want to know if Kingston's playing. I want to know if you're about. I was like, listen, kicker dad, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I want to know if Kingston's dressed. I want to know how Howard Cross looks out there. And you're giving me updates on Mitch Jeter? Come on, bro.
The first thing I told him.
I gotta say, man, like that kid though, seriously, I love that. I love the heart. You don't see kickers tend to be real, not necessarily the most. They're tad fragile, and there's a lot of kickers that would have gone through what that kid went through this year and
Would have been
folded.
done.
And he has been money
Money.
in the playoffs, fellas.
Hasn't missed a kick in the playoffs,
Money.
guys. Hasn't
One
missed one.
blocked. One blocked, and it
That's
wasn't
true.
on him. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Right.
Trev pointed that out last week, but he has been money. I think 4 of his last 5 field goals are over 40 yards. Money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. I actually felt very confident when for the first time this year, I felt very, very confident when they lined up for the field goal. I just did.
Yeah.
Like, this kid's locked in.
Felt like
locked
it
in.
felt like A&M again, didn't it, Vince?
Yeah. I mean, I was very confident in Jeter. And if a game comes down to a kick, that he's going to make it. And that's why you brought him in.
He
right?
looks like the 90% kicker the last 2
Yes.
years in the SEC. That's what he looks like. He
Kicking
got his
with
body
confidence,
right,
man.
and he
Yeah.
got his mind right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll
Trev.
be honest. I was more nervous about them getting into field goal range than I was about him making the field goal. Like, legitimately, like, I was like, if they get into field goal range, my trust in Mitch Jeter is back. Now, I don't know, Brian, I don't know if you were able to hear the TV broadcast. I don't know if anybody wanted Mitch Jeter to miss that field goal more than Sean McDonough.
Sean McDonough has turned into an absolute clown.
Oh, my goodness. I have never, like borderline actively rooting against Mitch Jeter to make
I
this
want to
game.
like show a
Was
doll of a
nuts.
leprechaun and say, Sean, show me where Notre Dame hurt you. Show me where they hurt you.
The broadcast in its totality was just absolutely biased tonight,
Yeah.
just from start to finish. It
Yeah.
was.
Good thing Charles Jacques came in the game.
Oh my
man.
God. They were so unprepared for backup offensive linemen to come in. So unprepared. Like, they didn't once mention the fact that he was a starting left tackle before he got hurt. They butchered his name. I mean, they were so unprepared for anything like that to happen.
And they failed to mention his dominant blocks. Like,
Oh,
he's a
100%.
backup, but he's blowing cats up.
They've had
Right.
Notre Dame for 3 straight games. Three
Yeah.
straight games. This isn't something that they had to do at the last minute. They've had the same team for 3 straight games. Like, dude, know your depth chart. Know your depth chart, man.
And this was the same crew. I don't think this crew was as bad against Georgia. They were bad tonight. Like,
They
the
were
refs.
sad at the end of the game
Yeah.
when they were like, well, this isn't the best Georgia team in a while, but this is the best Notre Dame. It's like almost like a backhanded compliment.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the same knucklehead that spent the last 5 minutes in the Indiana game talking about Indiana didn't belong.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, all I want to
Exactly
say
right.
to y'all is Notre Dame finished this year 2-0 against the SEC and 4-0 against the Big Ten. So
Yeah.
y'all you can at me, you know, with all that nonsense. You know,
You know what? Since we're talking about it, do you guys have anything else you want to talk about on special teams? We talked about the big hit by Talich. We talked about the field goals. Can I also say that Rendell did one hell of a job pinning and flipping the field for this team? I mean, he absolutely did his job.
he punked
tonight.
that guy in that catch at the
Oh,
2-yard line.
It's
'Cause that ball hung
fantastic.
in the air forever.
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
I think he was like, I got to catch this because if I don't, the Notre Dame guys are behind me. They're going.
And
to
they
catch
were. There were 3 guys standing behind him when he caught that ball.
Yeah.
There was 3
That
guys.
was crazy hang time.
So, I mean, he didn't have to unleash one of his big balls, like, you know, have them pinned at the 10 or something like that. He didn't have to do that. But the directional stuff that he did and pinning them inside, I mean, just absolutely outstanding job by him. Outstanding job by him. So I wanted to get that in there.
My buddy's the Penn State special teams coach. And so
Oof.
I'm a little torn on that, but Marty Biaggi has done a phenomenal job in the postseason with the special teams unit, especially the last 2 games. He deserves a ton of credit. We've been hard on him at times. The coverage units were great tonight.
Yeah.
The punting was great tonight.
Yeah.
You know, snap, hold, kick, nailed it. I mean,
2 huge field goals in this game too, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, both of those field goals were massive. Get them on the board before the first half ends, and then to win it. I mean, they don't get any bigger than those 2 kicks.
did y'all see the hurdle of the snapper on that game winner that they didn't call?
No.
That should have been a penalty on Penn State.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of course they didn't call it. Why would you?
I'm shocked they didn't. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that too?
You look shocked. Yeah.
That's beautiful, Trev. Well done.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for defense and special teams, for that matter. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with us. We still got a boatload of super chats to get to, so don't go anywhere. But before we get to that, make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, share with your family and friends. And of course, jump on the boards.irishbreakdown.com for all of your breakdown needs. Let me tell you, there's going to be a lot of good stuff there over the next 10 days. Not that there isn't already, but the conversation, the breakdowns, it's all going to be over there. Really looking forward to getting on the boards and chatting it up with some people over the next 10 days and beyond, for that matter. So make sure you get on the boards.irishbreakdown.com. All right, gentlemen, we have go ahead, Brian.
Before we do super chats, I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
We are ND.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So, all right, Alex Udell with the first super chat of the night, first of many. Thank you very much. Emotional. Go Irish. Oh, baby.
Superman.
Emotional doesn't even begin to describe it. Okay.
Oh.
CW Pura. Thank you so much for the big super chat. Appreciate you very much. Thanks, IB staff, for all the hard work this season. Man, and Jelly gave all of his heart. He stepped up.
He's such a poised kid.
Yeah, stepped up big time.
Like, so poised. And it's not just the plays, guys. I really do believe that it's his demeanor was needed in that moment. Just no panic, no rush. You look in his eyes. I mean, the camera goes and he just looks like, okay, give me the call. All right, we're good.
Yeah.
You know, it just the offense needed that level of poise, not just a play, man. I mean, all the quarterbacks can throw a check down here. I'm not trying to take anything away from Steve. It's just more about, but that poise was
very calm.
So
that impressed me, though.
Important.
It really did.
It's,
I mean,
it's more important than any throw
Yes.
he made. Because as I said, none of the throws he made were like, wow, that's
Right.
such a phenomenal. But it's like it just the demeanor, the calm. Just take what they give you. We're fine. There's no panic. The clock's running down. There's no panic.
Right.
It just was. It was huge.
Marcus Briggs, thank you so much for the super chat with the score super chat. Appreciate that. I got one word to describe this team: heart. I love Notre Dame.
Nailed it.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, no doubt.
I want to bring this one up here real quick, guys, because this is a big one that I want to bring up.
I know which one you're coming up with.
From our guy Trevor Rocket, and Trev, man, I know it's been last year's been really tough for you. Trevor lost his wife Lindsay this past year, and she's now with the Lord. She was a believer, and so she's now in the Lord with Trevor's grandpa, my grandma, Ryan's mom, and I can't thank you enough for this. But he gave us a big super chat, and he said, "I make this super chat in honor of my late wife, Lindsay Rocket." And all I can say is Irish Breakdown has been a great distraction for me for a few years now, but especially this season. Let's get to see the lads get one more and bring this season home. Brian, Vince, Sean, and Trevor, keep doing what makes you guys the best in the business. I also want to say also that, she's got Sean's dad up there looking out for her as well. So we appreciate you, man, and Vince's father as well. It's been a rough one, but we love you and we are so happy. Someone at the thing today said that this isn't just a show, it's a ministry, it's a community, and I don't know that anyone has ever paid me a greater compliment, Sean, than to say that. And Trevor, we're so thankful that we're here for you, man, and we always will be, and we get to share this together. But I know Lindsay's smiling down on you, brother. So I wanted to get that one, and of course, thank you very, very much for that super chat.
No doubt. Matt Norton, thank you for the super chat. I love this team. I love Marcus Freeman. I love this fan base. What a game. What a win. I know my dad's smiling up above. He's watching over us. Go Irish.
Love it.
It's fantastic.
It's like, I really looked at my wife in the car. I can't believe they won that game. I can't believe they won that game. Like, guys, I'm watching the first half. I'm like, I sat there. I was like, it's been a great. You know what, Trevor? I was thinking at halftime. I was thinking about what you and I talked about the other night, reasons that Notre Dame might lose. And the third one was just the magic runs out.
Man. I was talking about that before the game. I was talking about that with Lauren sitting on the couch, and I was like, I think this might be it.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that multiple times during the game. It's like, you know what? I was thinking to myself, look, it's been a great run, man. Like, I've really enjoyed this run. I can't believe they're going to lose this game, but what a see. Like, I'm already doing that in my head. You know what I mean? Yeah. And thank goodness, don't have to worry about that just yet.
It's best super chat of the night.
Lauren turns Jurassic Park shorts. The shorts are off. Oh my.
I gotta tell you what Angela said to me in the car, guys. We got into the car and she looks at me, she goes, for all that trash you talked about Penn State this year, nobody needed that win more than you did.
She's not wrong, dude.
She was not wrong.
We gave them no respect in the rankings from the Notre Dame.
Well,
Penn
they
State
just should have been ahead of Notre Dame.
Correct. That's all it is.
No business being ahead of Notre Dame.
Right.
And but that team played by some buzz. She was not wrong.
They played their butts off. Penn State played their butts off.
Apples to oranges, B.
Yeah.
It's apples to oranges. That's why they were ranked ahead of Notre Dame, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, Notre Dame's got the oranges now.
I just love
well played
that their coach is crying about Notre Dame needs to join a conference while also crying about having to travel across the country all the time. And I'm like, yeah, welcome to Notre Dame's world, you clown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
he's also complaining about his hairline.
Well, you don't have a hairline. So just
look, man, to be fair, Marcus Freeman's hairline is sharp, dog. Like that thing is
gets that thing. I mean, he gets fixed up on the daily, man.
Look,
like,
man.
you want to know the difference in these two teams, though, in all seriousness? Notre Dame puts out their hype video, and it's 100% focused on Notre Dame. There's no mention of Penn State anywhere. Penn State's entire thing was geared towards Notre Dame.
It was.
Notre Dame. And at the end it said beat Notre Dame. And it's like, this is the difference because Notre Dame is in your head, James Franklin.
Correct.
And Notre Dame's not focused on you. They're focused on them. And that's why this game went their favors. They got better players and all that, but it was like, look, we focus on us and let the rest take care of itself. And you're focused on, you got to find these arbitrary things to kind of get you fired up, and you got to find these everybody should be in a conference, blah, 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 you know.
I mean, he was already excuse making before the game started.
Yeah, man. James Franklin being the one to tweet out the hype video too, I thought was weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like that was odd.
Yeah, I realize he probably doesn't do his own Twitter or whatever, but like, there's just a weird way to put that out there.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It was almost like he was trying to find something for his team to rally around.
It's a lot like Kurt Signetti was doing before that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
exactly right.
Some extra to beat this football team.
Yep.
You know, it was almost like he was trying to get Marcus Freeman to say something at the press conference.
Oh, he was
trying to pull something.
Know Marcus Freeman very well.
Right. And Marcus is just stoic as always. And then he goes and jumps on Twitter and he's like, oh, Notre Dame. Like, dude, stop. No, it's not going to work. Go play the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? I'll say the same thing to him. I said to Kirby Smart and Kurt Signetti, enjoy your off season, cuz.
Right. We're still talking football. So Shelton Hager 91, thank you so much for the super chat. It says 33 years old. This officially is the best moment of my ND fandom. Vince, Coach D, Trevor, thank you guys for everything. I found IB right before Vince came on. What a fun ride. I also woke up my whole house screaming.
He's got some little ones, Shelton. Shelton does. So, yeah. He put this super chat out, Sean, before you joined the show. It was 11:30, so that's why we got the love, and you did. You know Shelton loves you.
So,
you know he loves you.
Found IB right before I came on, so that's a very small window, by the way. That's a 2-month window.
We weren't even I wasn't even doing live there. Vince.
Correct.
It was just me doing like the recorded videos and all that. So you were finishing your sentence.
This is true.
BGI.
That's true. My walk-on moment for IB started very quickly after you started, but anyway.
You're on full Scally now, bro.
That's right. We should have shown that hype video. All right, DJ Holman, thank you so much for the super chat. How many times did McElroy say he trusted Aller to not make a mistake on the broadcast before the grade?
Yeah, it was so funny.
Yes, ignoring the two previous ones that were wiped away by penalty. What a game, go Irish. Oh, the hype was he actually also said, by the way, and I quote, Drew Aller has all the tools to be a franchise quarterback in the NFL.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. He's not ready yet. But just when we're talking physical tools, right? Physical tools, 6'5", 230. He made some big. I mean, yeah, we talk about his. He made some big time runs tonight. Big arm. He's not a franchise quarterback right now, right? He's not. Just like Bo Nix wasn't in 2022, but he became one in 2023. He's got all the tools to be one. He isn't one yet. But I do think the physical tools are there, but he's got a long way to go. But again, guys, Notre Dame's secondary and defense has done this to a lot of really good quarterbacks. So, but it's just like you're going to talk about, I trust him not to make mistakes. Have you watched Notre Dame this year?
I mean, he threw three picks this year.
Forget your feeling of Drew Aller. Have you watched Notre Dame this year? This is what they do.
They force you into mistakes.
This is what they do. I trust him not to make mistakes. Okay, we're watching a different football game.
Mm-hmm.
Different football game. I'll say this. I still think people are evaluating, and I met Josh Pate tonight, finally in person.
Really?
And we were talking about because I like Josh, and we were chatting, and I said, hey, thanks for coming on my show this summer. And I said, back when Notre Dame fans still liked you.
That's true.
He laughed, and I said, but do me a favor, keep picking against Notre Dame, because we're enjoying that. But
was he wearing a really tight T-shirt when you saw him?
No, he when he goes to games, he puts a jacket on, and he was dressed nice.
Just curious.
This is on a roll tonight.
I like Josh, but I definitely let him know that But I think Josh falls victim to this as well. I still think there's a lot of people that are evaluating Notre Dame on what they were and not what they are.
Agreed. And it's the Notre Dame they all grew up with.
So I get it.
I get it too. Look, we've been trying to coax Notre Dame fans out of that all season, right?
Sure.
So I mean, I get why national people still have that feeling. They're wrong, but they still have it.
But it's not disrespect. It's not hate. It's
I get
not,
it.
I get it. Like Greg McElroy. Greg McElroy is a very different analyst when he's doing TV with Sean McDonough than when he's on his radio or podcast. Because I think he's excellent when he's doing his radio or podcast stuff. And I'm not just saying that because I was all at him and Cole Kubelic the other day. I'm saying that because I genuinely believe that. Which is why some of the stuff we hear during games is a little disappointing because it's like, dude, that's not the great analysis you give in your show. Maybe he's just saving all his best stuff for his show. Could be it. Wow, that's a big one. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, Eric Carroll, thank you very much for the super chat. Hardest fought win of the season so far. Very proud of this team and proud to be a fan of the Irish. Agreed. Yeah. Thank you so much for that super chat too, man.
Got another big one from Devin Holdeman. Devin, thank you so much. Let's go Irish, my dude. I'm with you, man.
This is great.
I'm with you.
You guys are awesome.
Miles Whitaker.
Love it.
Miles is fired up. He's fired up. I like this one from Handy Cart Mexican. Thank you for your super chat. Penn State fan here. What's
GG's? Good game.
Good game
to y'all. Go get that championship. I appreciate you, man.
That's respect, man. There. I appreciate that very much.
Class right there. No doubt about it, man. I just want to knock out a few of these here, Vince.
Yeah.
Sean O'Kane with a super chat, sticker. Thank you so much.
From north of the border. Thanks, Sean.
Appreciate that. So I just wanted to get a couple of those. Nitesh Gudapati, thank you very, very much for that super sticker, man. We appreciate you very much. Kirkpatrick with one. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Kirk, for your super chat. We appreciate you. My dude, K. Grant.
Boom!
Stepping up with a big one, man. I appreciate you. He says, go Irish, man. And that's really all that's necessary tonight is just go Irish. I mean, it is just what a beautiful, beautiful night, guys. Wolfhound with a super sticker. Thank you very, very, very much. This one is about, we don't need to say anything else to this, guys. EJ Blyer. Is that Blyer, Vince?
Oh,
Blyer.
It's Ed.
Blyer.
That's my. I was at Ed's house tonight.
Yeah.
Put a nice spread together, by the way. Some
Franklin
great chicken legs.
Is a bag.
So I'll just leave it. I'll leave it at that. That's good stuff. Thanks for the hospitality, Ed.
There you go.
That was good.
Myth Randrier. As a PA resident, I can't wait until work tomorrow. One more. He's going to be doing the Vince McMahon, thing, meme. That's so going to be him tomorrow.
100%.
No question. Brian B, my dude, this goes to the closest game pick. Love IB Nation. Appreciate you very, very much. Stooch 66. Appreciate you very much for the super sticker there, man. Be fast. Legends are made from halftime adjustments.
I mean, he's
Facts.
not wrong.
Facts. Iden Benami with a super chat. Thank you, man. Gap is closed, baby. Not yet. Not yet. The gap is closing, but there's still work to be done, my friend.
There is. There's no awards for second place.
Nope. Laura Dern's Jurassic Park shirts. Riley Leonard, who?
Oh, I love it.
Appreciate that one.
Love it.
Beezer 12 washing beard, like Coach Boone said. Who's your daddy? There's no doubt. Notre Dame's the ACC champs this year. They're I can't say they're the Big Ten champs just yet.
Well, they're the SEC champs.
They're the SEC champs. Well, we can't, gotta say that. We'll see who wins this game tomorrow. But
that's true. Good point.
BK for Mendy with a super chat. Thank you so much. I am happy. That is all. I think we're with you, my man. Sean O with a big super chat. Man. That's huge. And I appreciate you, man. Just love. One more. Go Irish, bro. I appreciate that very, very much. I'm just trying to knock some of these out real quick, guys.
No, that's okay.
Nerd for life. This team refuses to lose. Love these kids. This is probably my favorite team since the Lou Holtz era. Just enjoying, like, even a guy like Jaden Greathouse, guys. I mean, that guy went from, he was supposed to be their number one receiver last year. Now he's just a rotational guy.
Mm-hmm.
But has there ever been anyone that's ever played at Notre Dame that's had a higher hit rate and big play opportunities than Jaden Thomas? He doesn't. It's like he only gets targeted. It's like Mike Denbrock's like, hey, Jaden, we're only going to give you the ball in a huge situation. Outside of that, you're not going to touch the ball. And he's like, got you, coach. And he steps up and makes those plays. I love that kid. Man, I love watching that kid play. There's so many of those guys. So many of those guys on this football team. They're just super, super fun to watch, guys. Got a super sticker from Pavel Datisik. I hope I got that one right. My guy, Reza, with a super chat. What a game.
Oh, no doubt.
I got to meet him at the Indiana tailgate, Vince.
Oh, nice.
He was one of the people at the Indiana tailgate.
Nice.
Iden Benami, Jesus blessed in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen to that, my brother. Pavel Datisik, you guys deserve way more than this one more win. Hey, brother, we appreciate anything y'all
doesn't matter.
Man. We appreciate all y'all. Ryan Olenek, this one's for Money Mitch. Go Irish. Yes.
Yes. One of my favorite things. I think it was. I don't remember if it was the "Here Come the Irish" documentary or if it was one of those deals that they do at the end. I think it was one of the ones that they do at the end of each game. But after he hit a kick, he comes over and he's like, "I'm back."
Yes,
like dude, like at that point moving forward, I was like, "That
he's
guy
good.
Right there."
He's good.
He's
good. Love that kid. Yeah. Chris McCall, similar to our 77 team with our QB, just has it. I'm with you. Justin with a super chat. Thank you, Christian Gray, all caps. I mean, nothing else needs to be said.
There it is.
It's not often that we're pretty much, most of us are all on the same page. Jimmy Page with a super chat. Thank you, Jeter.
Yeah, man.
You said it. Ida Benami, sing it loud, boozy voice, independent. I love it. Freaking love that. That's the kind of pettiness that we can appreciate.
Yes, that's what I'm here for.
Nitesh Gudapati, thank you. The J Love touchdown, best play in the game for me. I think I told you guys, a buddy of mine said that play symbolized this game, this team in this game.
It's gritty.
Just refused to be denied. We're back up top, Vince. So we're able to knock out.
All right. Feel free to keep knocking. Here we go. A. Reagan, thank you so much for the super chat. Back-to-back New Year's Six Bowl champs. I told y'all. Hope you guys pre-ordered the Orange Bowl champs gear. One more to go. Love you guys at IB and go Irish.
Thank you, man. Yeah, he did call that last week. He did.
Ray Price, thank you for the big super chat. Appreciate you very much, Ray. Thank you, Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and thank you, IB. What a season. We need just one more win. One more.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting greedy. You know what I mean? Like
I'm you're here now.
Exactly. Like you
didn't come this far just to come this far, baby.
Right. Like they're playing with house money. Like let's go. Like let's play this thing.
Trevor let me down the other day. He didn't catch this reference, but it's just like what the great Jake Taylor said. Nothing else left to do except to win the whole freaking thing.
Darn right. Darn right.
You're here.
Go Indians.
You're here. Lucky Ducks 512. Great House was clutch when it mattered. I mean, big time. Second 100-yard game of his career. I think. He didn't have one. He almost had one against Wake last year. But man, they needed that. I mean, but guys, that's been there all year. Great House could have put up way better numbers this year if he was just focused on more. And I'm hoping that this game kind of is like, hey, Riley, this has been there all year. You may want to use this on the 20th.
Man,
That guy.
I mean, hey, whatever, man. I don't care when you use it at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Trev, we talked about that during the week, though. Like, some pass catchers got to step up. We flat out said somebody's got to step up in the pass game. And you know what? Tonight, like, 3 guys did.
Mm-hmm. Buddy Gabrick, thank you so much for the super chat. This team made me eat my words in the free for all chat. Great fight. Much respect to everyone on the team. Never quit. There was a lot of people in the free for all chat that were not feeling it when they were down 10-0. I'm
Which
sure
is why they're in the free for all chat.
I stay so far away from the free for all chat during games because it just makes me mad.
Yeah. Bench everyone, fire everyone. Oh, great win.
Not wrong. Aiden Benami, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you. From summer IB shows all the way to the Natty. I love IB Nation so much. I love ND so much. I love this team so darn much. Atlanta bound. We're dreaming, baby.
I got to tell you, before the game, Angela's like, hey, should I go book our flights for Atlanta? I'm like, hey, can you pump the brakes a little bit on that one? Like, can we play the game first? So
We have faith, Ange.
I love that woman. And we're getting in the car, and she's like, so should I go book them now? And I'm like, can we just get back to the hotel, right? I need you to get the directions on we're going back to the hotel. I'm like, yeah, she's ready to roll, man. She's ready to roll. But no,
I'm so ready to roll.
Love
I'll
this
tell you that right now.
This team is so much fun to watch. So much fun to watch.
John A1, thanks for the super chat. Haven't seen a short yardage TD run like Love since Deshaun Foster's TD run versus the Eagles in the 04 NFL Championship. Wow.
It's impressive. He was he ran really hard in the second half of this game. Really hard.
Mm-hmm. When they came out and they were just firing him up the middle, I mean, and then just picking up chunks of yards each time, it's like, okay. Like that made me feel so much better.
Yeah.
Coming out of halftime. So much better. A Clayton 47, thanks for the super chat. To see what you did there, 1988. How? Seriously, how did that happen? Love the fight, grit, never give up attitude. I was wrong about Freeman. I apologize. Go Irish. There's a lot of that going around. You're not alone, dude.
This was a game where honestly they shouldn't have won.
Yeah, agreed.
Like if you were to explain everything that happened in this game, couldn't run the ball, gave up over 200 yards rushing, had 2 really bad turnovers that led to 2 Penn State touchdowns. We go through all these different things and you're like, oh, they won the game. Penn State went 2 for 2 on 4th down in the first. I mean, and they won the game.
Look, on paper, like if you held, I said this earlier. I don't. You must not have been on. If you hold up Penn State stats for this game, and you say that Notre Dame is -1 in the turnover battle, you're like, oh well, Penn State won the game. Great season, guys. Like it was great, but they found a way to win this game. You know, found a way. Aiden Benami with another one. Thank you so much. Mitch Jeter and Steve Angeli literally sum up our whole team capitalized.
It's a great team. It is.
Yep.
It's a great observation, Aiden.
Miles Whitaker, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate you, Miles. Who wins an Orange Bowl down 2 in turnovers? Our guys. High honors to the team and to head coach Marcus Freeman. Christopher Hardy with the score super chat. Appreciate you, Christopher. So impressed by this team. I don't care who we face in the championship. I've got all the faith in the world in these guys. They got that dog in them, and I don't mind saying I was crying at the end.
Let's
awesome. Get this natty.
That's freaking awesome.
I get it, man.
I promise you weren't alone, brother.
No doubt.
I was more in shock, honestly, than anything. Just like, wow, I can't believe. Because when they got stopped, and I'm like, okay, Penn State's got this last chance. They're going to overtime, and they're gassed. They're going to go overtime, and they're just gassed. Penn State's going to lean on them. And then when Christian Gray made that pick, I was like, what just happened?
Mm-hmm.
What? And that's the final. I was okay. They're going to win. They're going to win because Vince has already called it. Jeter for the W. I was like Lynn Swan at the end of Waterboy, like looking at Vince like Vicky Valancourt, like what? Like that's what it's going to be. 27-24, Mitch Jeter walk-off. That's what it's going to be.
That's what it's going to be. I like that. Maltavius, thanks for the super chat. This one is for Salty Virginia Peanuts, the great one.
Oh, Salty was at home going crazy.
Oh, he's still in the chat, so he's still going crazy. Which
Yeah.
it's about time he got paid. He got this one paid off.
Yeah.
John A1, thanks for the super chat. I'm in shock. Penn State was more physical, forced turnovers, still won. They were more physical in the first half for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Not the second.
Right. David Jones, thanks for the super chat. Wow. O-line was iffy, but did enough that mattered.
We'll have a lot to say about the O-line when we do the upon further
For sure.
review. For sure. Yeah.
GU Knight 75, thanks for the super chat. Jagasaw was ripping heads off out there. Next man up. He was. He played, from what I can tell watching it live, he played a heck of a game.
Yeah. He had a lot of pent-up frustration. He was releasing on those poor Penn State boys.
Yeah.
Remember that? Remember we were talking, I think, after one of the games. We were like, yo, what if 56 never got hurt? How comfortable do you think Riley Leonard would have been from that day one on? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then he comes back and does this, like just throwing it to service and dominates. That just shows he's probably a more elite guard than he is a tackle. But that's debatable because I mean he has the talent to be an elite tackle as well. If that's your left tackle, Riley's probably back there patting the ball, surveying, feeling really comfortable instead of going through some of the trials he went through early in the season because he didn't feel protected from that left side. It just goes to show you, man, this team is bleeping amazing, man.
Charles just likes bowl games. That's what we've got to learn. He just likes playing bowl games.
You're right. He
he just likes playing
like forget the regular season. I'll just get up for bowl games.
That's right.
And shout out because he wasn't supposed to be back.
No.
So shout out to the staff getting him ready and
Steve Rolfe, survive in advance. Amen, brother. That's all you got to do. Trevor said it when the final season was like, I'm just so glad we don't have to worry about style points anymore.
I'm telling you, they have one more game to go. They can win it 2-0. Guess who wins the national championship? I do not care. I don't care about style points. I don't care how it gets done. I told Lauren at halftime, I was like, I don't care what the score is. They just have to win this football game. They could win it 11-10. I don't care. Thank goodness all that's over.
Sorry about that. All right. Lucky Ducks 512. Thanks for the super chat. Crazy stat. Penn State wide receivers had 0 catches, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns.
Wild stuff, dude.
It is a crazy stat. Even though we've said it like 13 times, it doesn't matter.
He put this up before.
Right. But yeah. Zach Martin, thank you for the super chat. When Brian's back, coming from Bama rant now, seeing how the OGs felt and how the team plays now, it was always just right there. Go Irish.
Yeah.
He's talking about the way back machine.
Right.
For us.
The first live show we ever did.
Yeah.
Bama to now. And we were actually talking about that, Vince, at the get together today.
Oh, really?
I was like, because there was a couple people that I've met several people like, hey, that's when I found you is when, you guys did that. And some people are like when Brian Kelly left that show. But
that was a big one.
I was telling people, like we weren't planning on going live that night, but I called Vince like late in the game and I was like, we're going live. He was like, how do we do? Can we even go live? I was like, figure it out. We're going live.
We did.
Because I got some things to say.
Yeah, we figured it out.
Well, it was 4 years ago.
Those were the two kind of big nights for the company, I would say. Yeah. That one, and then the Brian Kelly night where I was at Riley High School and I get a text that he quit. And I just ran up to I was at a basketball game. I ran up to my classroom. We did the show from there, and I got kicked out by the janitors at like 11:30, because we were just going. And we picked up a lot of people that night as well. So
yes, we did.
Gotta love it.
But gotta love it. Think about it though, like the team that played not to lose against Bama.
Yeah.
To what this team is now.
Oh my gosh. Chris Allen, thank you for the super chat. Go Irish. What a comeback. 2 O-linemen go down. Angeli got a key 3, and we're going to Atlanta. See you boys there. Party like it's 1988.
We're gonna.
Gosh.
We're gonna.
Can't wait. Josh Phillips, thanks for the super chat. Got the flu. No problem. Down 10. No problem. Down 2 linemen. No problem. Riley goes out. No problem. Love, not 100%. No problem. Team is resilient.
No doubt about that.
That's
No
the
doubt about
storyline, man. That's the narrative of this
They
whole
just
team.
refuse to lose.
Yeah.
My buddy Jeff, he's like, this team just refuses to get beat. They refuse to lose. And the thing is, you can't make a mistake against them, because if you give them that opportunity, if you give them that little window to get back in the game, they're going to get back in the game and beat you. That's what we learned tonight anyway. We didn't know that before because they haven't been in the game where they trailed since September 7th.
Jason Villalobos, thank you so much for the super chat. Love this team. Our boys played with great guts and a ton of heart. They were warriors tonight. Go Irish, win the whole effing thing.
Love it. Love the Major League reference.
Right. Lisa Robinson, thanks for the super chat. Snead covered the tight end on the interception. Amazing.
Yeah, it's great coverage. He's like the last month and a half of the season, or the last 5-6 games, he's really started to turn it on and been a playmaker. Did the same thing against Georgia, first play of the game last week. I mean, just you're like, this kid's turned into a playmaker. It's huge. He's another guy that's accepted his role. Like, this is what I'm asked to do. I'm doing this, this, and this, and then he goes out there and he just does it. I just love the maturity he's shown.
Yeah,
really do.
Is it Rise Briner or Riz Briner? Not sure.
Reese
Briner. Okay, I'll go with that. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it.
That's the guy for the Major League Baseball player, right? Reese.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right about that. Yeah. So anyway, that's the gutsiest win I've ever seen from a Notre Dame team. The Magic is alive. We're going to the Natty.
That's right. Can't believe it, dude. They're going to play for the national championship.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And it'll still be true after we go to bed, believe it or not. Like, it's going to be, I'm going to wake up and be like, does this happen?
Yeah.
All right. AST12321. Thanks to the super chat. Coach Freeman gave us something we haven't had in my life twice in one season. The team is something else. I want it all, but this is still goated.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. I love this next super chat, guys. This is one of my favorites of the night.
From C-Rod. Thanks for the super chat, C-Rod. Can only give $5. I got to save my impending triple bypass after this game. One of the greatest games I've ever seen, not just Notre Dame game. That's
Appreciate
great.
You,
I mean, this thing went back and forth like the whole game. The whole game. It was punch, counter punch, punch, counter punch. Like,
well, it was a 31-point fourth quarter.
Yeah.
The game was nuts.
Yeah.
Hey, look, guys, we said it earlier. Penn State deserves a lot of credit. Those kids played their butts off too. This was two really good football teams that went at each other tonight.
Correct.
Two really good football teams.
Lucky Ducks 512. Thanks for the super chat. This is the game where people can't make an excuse for why Notre Dame won.
You would think that.
Oh, they'll find a way.
Just wait.
Say, follow me on Twitter at Tro5. You'll hear a lot of them tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, you. I can't wait for tomorrow because Trevor saves receipts, and the day after big games, that's when Trevor's a great follow. By the way, not that it's not always that way. It's especially good the day after a big game. Just saying.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Berto 2121. Thanks for the big super chat, Berto. Appreciate you very much. 3-0 in the playoffs. 2 wins over Big Ten teams, 1 over the SEC champs, keeping 14 million and counting to themselves. Hey, Franklin, join a conference. My backside. He's not wrong. You're not wrong, Berto.
I want to be petty, but I don't know if I should.
It's 254. You can be as petty as you want.
Can we say this, that Marcus Freeman's won more big games in the last 3 weeks than Brian Kelly won in 11 years?
Boom! Where's the bell?
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. And as many as Franklin has won as well, by the way. Just throw that in there too. So, AST12321, thanks for another super chat. Wild, Notre Dame had more receptions from our corners than Penn State had from their wide receivers. Give Mickens a blank check.
I didn't think about it that way. Like Notre Dame's corners caught more balls in this game than Penn State's receivers did.
Well,
Jack
technically,
Kaiser.
yeah, I was going to
caught
say,
more
I,
footballs.
you took the word right out of my mouth, Trevor. So did Jack Kaiser. That's right. Just saying.
Man.
I think some Penn State D linemen touched the ball tonight more than their receivers did
Ooh.
on
I
a
was,
couple
I
of
was
batted
just about to
balls.
say, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. ICURN with Irish Luck. Thank you so much for the super chat. Missed call on the Warren push-off against Schuler, but then call the PI on Schuler, but can't keep Notre Dame down. And Justin Suden a way to win. I'm not sure
Found
about
a way
that.
to win somehow, some way.
Exactly.
Okay, I'll
Yep.
take it. John A1, thanks for the super chat. The pass pro in the second half was the best it's been all year and opened up the pass game. It was good.
That was good.
It was good.
It was
Yeah.
definitely, it was a much improved in the second half.
Yeah, I was about to say
Yeah.
it was the best of the playoffs. I'll say that.
Yeah. There
I
was
can
a couple
confidently
of
say that.
snaps late on the drive before the game winner.
You're right.
They
That was
faltered then.
yeah,
Yeah. But outside of that, I mean, getting them to that point, they had done a really nice job.
right.
Much better job.
How did you guys feel about that? I'm glad you said that. That drive right there with 55 seconds, but when they got into Penn State territory,
Mhm.
were you shocked that Denbrock actually threw the ball instead of running it and forcing Penn State to use timeouts as they
I thought they were too far away from field goal territory to be running the ball there.
No, not like settling it, but I just felt like you could still run the ball on second down,
Yeah.
force them to take a timeout, and then still convert on third down, throwing the ball. Because you could do both things simultaneously and still give yourself time to get in the field goal range. It worked out for the best. It was just one of those things with back-to-back passes. I was like, that stopped the clock. I was like,
Sure. I would have utilized some sort of quick pass or a screen on that third down. I'm not running anything deep down the field because Penn State was pinning their ears back. Their goal was to get them out of field goal range. So I don't have an issue with the passing. I have an issue with the pass play that was called. Right? Like that's more where I'm at.
I thought there were some quick throws that Riley could have gone to on that play as well. Like he needs to do a better job of seeing that. There's a couple times tonight where I thought that he had something underneath and he got a little too aggressive, which, you know what, I'd rather take that than what we'd seen in the past where he was just completely unwilling to throw the ball down the field.
Sure.
I'll live with that to a degree.
Christopher Hardy, thank you for the super chat. Amen, Vince. A statue in the Goog of one man with his hand down, ready for the snap, and a line of men, helmets on and striding forward to be the next man up. Telling you, man, next man up is more than just a phrase this year for this Notre Dame team. And that it's more than a cliche, I can tell you that much. Joe M, thanks for the super chat. History is written by conquerors, and we are holding the pen. A line from Marcus Freeman's halftime speech needs to be etched somewhere on campus.
That will be on his statue after he retires.
Yes.
And they look back on his national
100%.
I'll go get it. I'll go get it tattooed on me tomorrow.
Well, why don't you wait till the 21st?
Right.
Hey, man, listen, this is a historic run for me. Like I have again. I mean,
great.
Yeah,
I love that.
Trev's like on big win overload. I mean,
seriously.
I was about to say look, I'm pumped for the national championship game. I am. Yeah. I need a break. Dude, my heart has just been.
I'm and Sean are old heads. We still remember West Virginia in '89 or in '80, Miami '88. We stood. Trev's like, man, I've had more big wins in the last week than I've had my whole life.
Legitimately. I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah. Sean, you got to run. So you got to run. You got to preach tomorrow, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh man,
got
tomorrow's
Friday. So yeah, funeral. That's right.
No, it's a funeral service.
Hey, Sean, I appreciate you being with us tonight, man.
Hey, go Irish. Let's get it.
Sir.
See you, Sean. Thanks for hanging with us, man.
All right.
Oh, hello. All right, Isaiah Lehman. Thank you so much for the super chat. This is the most fun win of my life. Also, Jagasaw was moving,
yes,
dude.
He was.
House money. # go Irish. Love it. Stephen B, thanks for the super chat. Well, I'm an idiot. Also, Angeli Truthers unite. That's great. I love.
Thanks for that, Stephen B.
Big Hoss, huge win, guys. Love this team and the resilience. Just curious about seeing little to no Bo Collins today. Can't wait to see what the social media team cooks up for the Natty.
Oh God, they're good. Yeah,
I'm sure we'll get
Thanks.
more on Bo Collins when we talk to Marcus Freeman at his press conference in a couple days. I would assume that that's probably going to be on Saturday, but I could be wrong. We'll learn more about injuries, Bo Collins, like all of the above. Those aren't questions you ask after a game like this.
Right.
You just
find out.
Full Life, thank you for the super chat. This was the type of instant classic Notre Dame usually loses. Not under Marcus Freeman. Go Irish.
Well, Notre Dame has lost recently in recent history. These are the kind of games they used to win all the time when Sean and I were kids. And I'm just glad you guys get to. I mean,
a long time ago.
10, 11, 12. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
that's like, it's just great that Marcus Freeman's restoring the Notre Dame what it should be.
Mm-hmm. Alex Flagstead, thanks for the super chat. Started listening to y'all the day BK left. Haven't gone a day without IB since. New board member as of Christmas. Just wanted to say thank you, IB. Y'all make this so much more fun. Thanks, Alex. It's more fun because you're here too.
I appreciate that very, very much. Appreciate that very, very much. Had somebody that we met from the I got a chance to meet Deco today at the get together. Was leave super chat. Gotta love this IB family. Great get together this afternoon. Had so much fun meeting y'all and great game, guys. We went to this little sports bar. It's like sports. It's literally just called Sports Grill, and it's like this. It's like part of a shopping center, and it had good reviews. And I'm like, I don't know, this is gonna be good. And guys, it was phenomenal. And found out the owner's a Notre Dame fan.
Oh,
born and raised in Miami, but Notre Dame fan. But like, even like they had waffle fries that were phenomenal. Their fries were great. The wings were some of the best wings I've literally ever had in my life.
I haven't eaten in hours. Don't do that.
It was so good.
I was about to say, man,
so good.
A little too good.
So good. Sean O, my dude, appreciate you. Bet Irish. My dad wanted to bet on this game, and I was like, I don't want him to bet, but I mean,
I give advice, but I haven't bet anything myself.
Yeah.
Full Life. Wow. With a full super chat. Thank you very much,
sir.
Full Life. Appreciate you very, very much. 3 years ago, I was celebrating Marcus Freeman winning the head coaching job at Notre Dame on this channel. Now, after many ups and downs, our predictions about where he could lead this program have come true. Can't put this feeling into words. Go Irish.
Well, we're going to hopefully spend the offseason trying to put it into words.
Yeah, exactly. I hope late into the night on the 20th, early into the 21st, we're putting it into words, but we got time to worry about that.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, very much so. Miles Whitaker, thanks for the super chat. Vince is right. That's it. We can just stop reading now. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Vince is right. Angeli nailed his role tonight. He may never play another game for Notre Dame, but he is cemented in my memory.
100%.
I love that.
100%.
I love that. Because you know what? You know what else is cemented in my memory? You know, Tyler Buckner on the fake kick, fake punt. All of these different pieces that put this team together that one guy did, or, something along those lines. Those are all cemented in my memory forever because everybody has a part in this thing, man. Like all the way through. Everybody's got a part in this. And Angeli just etched his name right next to all those other guys that are winning games for Notre Dame. So, yeah, 100%.
Love it.
Stooch66, thank you so much for the super chat. The Irish were the better team. They don't ever give up. They have each other's backs all the time. I was a freshman at Notre Dame in 93. I'm finally feeling like I did on November 13th, 1993 again.
That was your Miami, Vince, correct?
Right. Yeah.
That was your 88 Miami for me, was that win over Florida State.
Yep. That's the first one I remember. You know what I mean? It's the first one I remember.
Yeah.
Adam Soyson, thank you so much for the super chat, Adam. What a way to celebrate what would have been my grandpa Richard Soyson's 100th birthday. From up above, he saw that kick moving outright and just blew it back in. Thank you for it, guys. Love thee and go Irish.
That's awesome, Adam. Thank you for sharing that with us, man. We really appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, Adam, thanks,
really
buddy.
Appreciate that, man.
Dr. Thelonious McGee. thank you very much for the super chat. My fam are Subway alums who've never been lucky enough to even be on campus. We've loved Notre Dame for 7 decades. My dad loved Freeman. I wish he was still here to see this. Go Irish forever.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. I wish he was too. But he had the belief. He had the belief in Freeman. Hey, Vince, another person that I got to meet today, Bronx Indy fan. Got to
no
meet
kidding.
him. Came with his wife and his daughter. It's great to meet them as well. OMG, this team is all heart. Love you, IB, for hosting a great get-together. Loves TD Run. I lost my voice.
I bet.
Yeah, it was just a great win. But it was awesome meeting you and so many. Just Your Ordinary Joe was there with his wife today. Got a chance to meet his
kidding.
wife. Yep, got a chance
Nice.
to meet his wife today. But yeah, it was awesome, man. So many great people today.
Red Bearded Eagle. Thanks for the super chat. I'll admit it, for a long part of this game, thought the boys ran out of juice for the year, but this team just absolutely refused to lose. Love thee.
You're not alone.
Yeah,
I think
really.
we've all admitted it at one point in time. We're like, this isn't it. They ran out of juice, like he said. 100% agree.
Red Bearded Eagle with another one. Loves grown man TD run perfectly. Sums up this team as a whole. Just sheer will, guts, and an absolute refusal to lose. Zero give up in these guys. Yeah. Agreed. I don't even agreed.
Yep.
Sean O with another massive super chat. Thank you very much. You cannot be a fan of college football and not watch this show. Every minute is gold. Real and balanced. Try to be.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
I appreciate that.
Sean, you're killing it, man. Appreciate you. Sean O with another super chat. Hang on. Where do we get the IB quarter zips? Website?
I'm putting a link into the chat below.
Nice.
But yes, you can buy those.
They're clutch too, Sean. I'm telling you that right now. They are worth.
I wore my navy blue one tonight.
Yeah, they're worth the price of admission
right now, right? And then Vince, you've got a couple.
I've got mine upstairs. Yeah.
Trev, you got 2 now, right?
He's got a gray one.
Yep, sure
do. I dig the gray one. That's a
Vince,
nice one.
Which ones do you have, Vince?
I have the white one.
Okay, we'll talk this week.
Yeah,
get you one of the gray ones.
Sean O, dang, Sean, dude, love it. Another big super chat. We already read this one.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry.
But still, thanks again, Sean.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Tyler Evans, thanks for the super chat. Was it me or did Drew Aller pass fall under throw most of the night?
I mean, not all the time. He had some that were underthrown. He had a couple overthrows. I mean, he had Nicholas Singleton beat Jaden Osborne on a wheel route that might have scored if he doesn't overthrow him. But on some.
Yeah, the one pass that Nicholas Singleton dropped down in the red zone that ended up Penn State kicking that
should have
caught it, but should have caught it. That ball was like put on his hip. I mean, it was not a good ball. But again,
he still should have caught it. But he's back here like that's, and then when you're running this way and it's back, like that's a tough catch. Still needs to be caught.
Yep, 100%.
Sharp, I got big super chat. Got a chance to meet Sharp also today, which was awesome. He was down in New Orleans last week and was also at the game today, and I believe he said he'll be at the game next week.
Wow!
So it's great meeting you today. Loved getting a chance to speak with you and talk with you. Didn't know this. He played at Stanford. Didn't know this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. But it's great meeting you today. Never doubted it. I wish I had your faith.
Seriously.
I got to admit, I did not.
The doubt creeped in for me.
Faith. It 100% did. 100% did. Another one from my guy, Tyler Evans.
Hey, Penn State, you can chant, "We are Penn State," but we are going to the national championship.
We are going home.
Yeah,
that's Penn
right.
State's chant.
Yeah, we are going to enjoy the offseason.
Notre Dame also now has the all-time lead on Penn State. Series lead.
Yes, they do, because it was tied up. It was tied up. S stops 7. Thanks for the super chat. Pennsylvania guy surrounded by PSU fans. A loss might have killed me. I'm so impressed how Marcus Freeman and the crew didn't flinch. I certainly did. I think Penn State outplayed Notre Dame in many areas, but they would not die. Culture.
Yeah. I mean, whole first half, guys. Look, Penn State thoroughly outplayed Notre Dame in the first half of that game.
They did.
Thoroughly. But they as he said, would not die.
Love
Another
it.
one from S Stops.
Appreciate you for another super chat. Also, I'm a 4th grade teacher in a very small school. The 3rd and 5th grade teachers had their classes come down and chant, "We are." As tired as I am, I can't wait for tomorrow.
I met a guy today, and
Oh,
I'm
I
trying to
love
remember who it
that.
was. I think it was Tom, that said his wife he's retired now, but his wife still teaches. And they had a thing this week in school in Pennsylvania, I believe is where it is. And every teacher wore blue and white. And his wife goes to school rocking blue and gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Jake or Jack. It's Jack Pothast. Thank you so much for the massive super chat. Appreciate you very much.
Big
This is
time,
a
Jack.
34-year-old fan. This feels different than 2012 and
Oh,
the
yeah.
other 2 playoff appearances. Do y'all agree, and why?
Well, it does, because this team feels like they actually have a chance to win these type of games. That's the difference. I mean, that's
Correct.
really is. It's like that Notre Dame 2012 team was so much fun to watch because they played with so much heart. And Manti had one of the best individual seasons you've ever seen. But I mean, you just kind of knew, like, boy, they had some great wins, some fortunate wins, and the ball bounced their way, and they come back, win over Pitt, and the late game, Tommy comes off the bench against, Purdue, and they grinded out a 3-point win over BYU. And you just kind of knew, like, that team didn't necessarily have the athleticism. This team just kind of can beat you so many different ways. And this team is just, it's the first time, and part of it's because Notre Dame's better, but part of it is there is no 2019 LSU, 2018 Clemson. There is no 2012 Bama in this year in college football for a million reasons. But you just feel like this Notre Dame team can compete with anybody, and those teams couldn't. And I think, to me, that's why, Jack. That's why this team feels different than 2012, because like that team was just kind of like, boy, they were every week something in store and winning close games, and this team just goes out there and handles business, and you feel like they can compete with anybody. And I don't know that I felt that about a lot of other than the 2015 team, which actually lost 3 games. I felt that team athletically and talent wise could play with anybody. They just they couldn't coach defense with anybody, and that did them in. But no, I think that I don't know what you guys if agree with that, but that's the thing for me is I just think what makes this team different is you really feel like this team can literally play anybody in college football and has a shot to beat them.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be blunt with this one. It's who's running the program, right? Like that's what it is. Marcus Freeman instills confidence in his players and the fan base and the rest of the university. And the head coach that they had in 2012, 2018, and 2020, the last time that they were in this position, like to downplay expectations, and he wanted to set the bar lower for himself. So it made it more impressive when he kind of met them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, man, like that's the biggest difference right there, because all 3 of the teams had talent. I agree with you. Like the 2012 team, like you could tell that an opponent would come along that's just like they're just kind of outmanned. You know what I mean? Like I felt that way too. It was a special season, right? Obviously, the first undefeated one that I ever got to see, but it was just you could tell at some point another team was going to come along and put it to the test. But to me, it's who's running the program. You have one coach on one hand that played not to lose, and you have one that makes his team believe that there's no way that they're not going to win. So that's biggest deciding factor for me. That's why it's different.
Tyler Evans with the super chat. Thank you so much. I'll give James Franklin credit. He coached very well, but crunch time he coached like Keegan Michael Key. Hashtag 10, 9, and 1.
Look, I love banging on.
I don't think he coached a bad game. I don't.
I love ripping James Franklin. I can't stand him in so many ways, but like I said, I disagree with his decision to go for it or kick the field goal, right? But it's not like I don't think it was a choke moment. I don't think at any point in time his team choked. I don't think they were, like the interception late. I mean, I don't know what you want him to do there. He's trying to win a football game, and if you take a knee there and just go to overtime and you lose, it's like, oh, you played not to lose. And I don't know that tonight was about him being a typical James Franklin. If anything, I think his team was really ready to play tonight. I mean, really came out ready to play tonight. This is in the second half. Notre Dame was just better. And so, yeah, I'm with you. I give him credit. He just because his team lost late, I don't think and maybe I go back and rewatch it, I might change my mind, but I don't think there was anything late in that game where I felt like he got out coached or his team choked. I just think Notre Dame was better. There's not. some of the throws that, and we say this all the time, some of the throws that are picks against Notre Dame are incompletions against everyone else he's played this year. Some of the throws that are incompletions in this game are completions against everyone else he's played this year outside of maybe Ohio State. And sometimes it's not that they choked or Drew Aller's not good. Sometimes it's like, guys, Notre Dame's really freaking good. And their secondary is really freaking good. And Mark Freeman is a really good coach. So I'm with you guys. I think this is one of the best big games that James Franklin's ever coached. This team just wasn't as good as the one he faced. And he's not as good as Marcus Freeman.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think James Franklin coached bad at all. He had his team ready. He had them prepared. Like, I think part of it too is like, I don't really think that there was anything in this game that would have dictated him like blowing it. Like, you know what I mean? Like the way that the game played out at the end of the game, like what did you want Penn State to do? You know what I mean? Like run the ball and hope that they would get into field goal range with no timeouts left in 55 seconds. Like that's unrealistic. Right? I don't think that at all. For Drew Aller and like the secondary, I think both can be true. I think Notre Dame secondary is elite, and I don't think Drew Aller played well. He was inaccurate. That interception that should have been an interception to Tyler Warren, he threw that up into triple coverage. I'm all for trusting your
the one
guys.
Jack Kaiser?
Yes.
About the one that Kaiser made? Yeah. That was
Yeah,
a bad ball.
Yeah.
He should have thrown that ball.
Yeah. Like I'm all for trusting your guys, especially when it's 44, right? Like Tyler Warren's a dude, but if you're gonna give him, even then, if you're gonna trust your guy, you need to throw it about 3 feet further. Totally.
And throw it high to where either he catches it or nobody catches it. He didn't do that.
Yep.
And I'm not defending that Drew Aller played well.
Sure.
I'm simply saying I don't think this means he sucks or he's overrated or anything. I just think a lot of people have this happen. A lot of people happen to just miraculously have their worst games against Notre Dame. But to your point, Trev, is Riley Leonard put those balls where only Jaden Greathouse was going to catch that, or nobody was. You know, only Aeneas Williams was going to catch that, or nobody was. And that was the mistakes that Drew made tonight. Is and that's the thing that I say is the balls that were getting picked off tonight and covered tonight are touchdowns every other game they've played this year, except maybe Ohio State. And I think that's the thing that hurt him is like, hey, James Franklin, maybe you picked the wrong conference. Maybe you're not playing one that has the kind of athletes that can challenge you week after week after week that you need to be able to finally beat a team like Notre Dame. Sorry, I'm being a little petty there, but
Penn State should have stayed independent.
They should have stayed independent, right? And what's funny is like they act like, well, Notre Dame does this for money. Well, why did you leave independent to go to the Big Ten?
For money.
For freaking money. So shut your pie hole and, learn how to win a big game.
I like it. Irish for Life 99, thank you for the super chat. I want to say thanks to Brian and I be hosting the pregame get together at Sports Miami, and for the nachos and wings. It was great and love y'all. Now I can say I knew Brian when.
I didn't get a chance to have any of the nachos, unfortunately, but they looked really good. They looked really cheesy. Looked very good. And last one, fellas.
All right, Riley Walker taking us home. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. 23-year-old fan. Oh, young pup. Most fun I've had watching the team. My dad and I were at the NIU loss and returned for Indiana. Love that I get to share the joy with my family. Love the Notre Dame, and go Irish. Riley, buddy, I appreciate that more than you know, because I've shared a lot of these wins with my kid, and it makes it that much sweeter, that much better. And I'm putting his rear end in the back seat when we drive to Atlanta, and I'm going to try to find him a ticket. And if not, he's going to enjoy it from the parking lot, because he's not missing this. I'm not missing this opportunity with my kid, because I don't know when it's going to happen again. I think it will, but you just never know. You got to take advantage. But so I appreciate that, Riley, very, very much. Enjoy it with your family.
Yep. Night, Sean. Appreciate you, man. But Vince, that's going to do it, man.
Hey, I appreciate everybody hanging out with us this entire time. Another great post-game show. Hopefully we got one more in us in about 10 days, and I'm really looking forward to it. Make sure you guys stay locked in to Irish Breakdown. We're going to be bringing it to you on the regular every day until Notre Dame kicks off against whoever is unfortunate enough to play the Irish on the 20th in Atlanta. Okay. So stay locked in, national championship bound for Notre Dame. Loving every second of this. So make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell, share with your family and friends, jump on the boards at irishbreakdown.com. Guys, for Trevor, for Brian, I don't even know what else to say except pack your bags. We're all heading to Georgia. I'm Vince. We'll talk to you next time on the Irish Breakdown podcast, everybody. Go Irish. Let's go, baby.